Chapter 1541. Because an elder of the Poison Valley had entered the Sorcerer Demon Clan's illusion and plotted against Yun Luofeng, causing Yun Luofeng's death, those who were on good terms with Yun Luofeng had encircled the Poison Valley. Of course, she could not say these reasons out loud. As for whether Yun Luofeng was dead or not, and whether the person whom the Empress had picked up was the Yun Luofeng that she was familiar with, it did not matter. After all, she had never seen Yun Luofeng in person and did not know what she looked like. However, just because her name was Yun Luofeng, she deserved to die. The Empress recovered from her shock and said angrily, "How can there be such a vicious woman in this world?" That's right. Now that the Empress has picked her up, will she seduce the Empress? The Empress is also hot-blooded. What if she can't resist the temptation? Lin Yoyu's eyes flickered and her lips curled into a cold smile. She won't even spare an old man. The Empress is so handsome. Why would you give up? Besides, this woman is greedy for riches and will definitely not let you, the Empress, off. The Empress gritted her teeth when she heard this. I had thought that if this woman was weak, I would let her go. But now I must get rid of her. Empress, don't worry. She is our common enemy. I will help you deal with her. However, she has finally fallen into my hands after so much difficulty. I don't want her to die too quickly. This country was her territory. No matter how powerful Yun Luofeng was, how could she compare to those elders? Hence, she had to make use of this opportunity to ruthlessly humiliate her. That's right. The Empress nodded. Grand Tutor, you have suffered so much. You should take revenge. This woman will not have a good ending if she falls into the Grand Tutor's hands. Lin Yu laughed and swept her cold gaze towards the Empress. She did not say anything else and walked out. Once Yun Luofeng had recovered, she left the room. The Imperial Palace was different from the outside world. There were no guards at the entrance. She left the palace directly and arrived at the bustling market outside. From afar, she could see a group of people gathered in front of her. Those people's eyes were filled with worship and reverence as they all looked in one direction. It's the Grand Tutor. I heard that the Grand Tutor has come out to make a prophecy again today. I wonder who would be so pitiful to have fallen for the Grand Tutor's prophecy. TSK, this Imperial Preceptor is really godly. If she says that others won't be able to live past midnight, then that person definitely won't be able to. Otherwise, the elder would not think so highly of her, and even give her a position that surpasses that of a king. It's just that the Imperial Tutor doesn't help people predict their lifespan. The Imperial Tutor will reject anyone who begs him to predict their lifespan. Unless she comes out herself to point someone out, that person will know that his time is up. Inside the tall building, a green-clothed woman was escorted by many palace maids as she walked up the tall building. She was like a monarch looking down on all living things, looking down on the group of humans below. Her expression was like that of a god who decided life and death. No one's life or death could escape her eyes. Predicting lifespan? Yun Luofeng, on the other hand, stopped in his tracks with interest. Little Mo, is there anyone in this world who has such power? A moment later, Little Mo's voice sounded in his soul. I've never heard of it. Even the most powerful prophet 1,000 years ago didn't have this kind of power. I didn't expect that there would be someone with such mysterious power in this small country. Perhaps it was because he wanted to know how this woman would predict. So, Yun Luofeng did not rush to find a way out. Instead, he stopped and observed the woman on the high platform. Chapter 1542. Everyone. A palace maid stepped forward. It's the same as before. Whoever the pill in our Imperial Tutor's hand hits will be the person who will lose his life in a few days. Pill. Yun Luofeng frowned. She turned to look at the crowd and asked, why did the Grand Tutor use a pill instead of personally announcing the lifespan of others? That person glanced at Yun Luofeng with a look of disdain. You don't even know the Grand Tutor's personality? The Grand Tutor is kind by nature. She couldn't bear to say that someone's lifespan is about to end, so she used this method to avoid it. After the person finished speaking, she ignored Yun Luofeng and stared nervously at the woman in green on the high platform. Yun Luofeng was speechless. If she really couldn't bear it, she wouldn't have ended someone's lifespan. Her method was not desirable in the first place. Everyone, our Grand Tutor has already made her decision. I hope that the person she has chosen will prepare for his funeral. The palace maid's voice rang out again, making the crowd even more nervous. At this moment, the Grand Tutor on the high platform had already made her move. A pill was flicked out by her and instantly hit a person's throat. Don't look at how the pill came from far away. In fact, it didn't have much power. It didn't even turn red. Even so, the person who had been hit knelt on the ground with a thud. His face was deathly pale and filled with despair. Everyone else shook their heads. Their faces were filled with sympathy and pity, but no one went to help the person up. Yun Luofeng wasn't like the others. When she saw the pill land on the person's throat, her face darkened and a sharp light flashed across her eyes. "Little Mo, do you understand?" After a while, Little Mo's voice rang out from her soul. "Look carefully. This pill has been smeared with poison. As long as it touches the skin, he will die within 5 days. I was wondering if there was someone in this world who could end someone's lifespan. I didn't think that they would use such a vicious method." Just now, those people had said that the Grand Tutor wouldn't accept anyone who begged her. She would only use this method to end someone's lifespan. It was obvious that this method was very accurate. It wasn't that the youth who had been hit by the pill would die, but the pill had been smeared with poison. How could he not die? "Master, are the people of this country stupid?" Little Mo was speechless. This woman who was called the state preceptor obviously didn't have any real ability, but she was able to fool these ignorant people. They're not stupid. It's just that there are no doctors or poison masters in this country, so they don't know that the pills are poisonous. Besides, the citizens of this country have been isolated from the outside world for so many years, so how could they know about the schemes of the outside world? It was only natural for him to be deceived. "Master, aren't you going to save that young man? I've never met him before. Why would I save him?" Yun Luofeng shook his head. "If it has nothing to do with me, I won't interfere. More importantly, in this place, power was everything. If she went to save a person who was determined to die, it would definitely attract the attention of the elders in the country. Perhaps they might even force her to be the empress. Would she do such a thankless task?" Yun Luofeng turned around and did not look at the situation in front of him any longer. He turned around and walked towards the other side of the street. On the tall platform, Lin Yuyu seemed to have sensed something. Her clear eyes looked towards Yun Luofeng in the crowd, as killing intent flashed within them. Chapter 1543. Yun Luofeng, I will not let you go. She looked away and ordered the palace maid beside her. Tell him that he will die in 5 days. With that, he walked down the high platform and left in a carefree manner. For the whole day, Yun Luofeng searched for a way to leave. Unfortunately, there seemed to be some kind of restriction placed at the bottom of the cliff. He could not fly. Otherwise, he could have flown out of this place. "Little Mo, it looks like we can't just keep searching like this. I need to know where the restriction is set up. Only by finding the restriction will we be able to leave." Yun Luofeng slowly walked into the room and spoke after a moment of silence. Before Little Mo, who was in the grimoire, could answer her, the door was opened. A handsome man in a flaxen robe walked in, led by a group of guards. "Miss Yun, it seems that your body has recovered well." The man was surprised. Even though jumping off the cliff would not kill her, but she would definitely be severely injured. But she had recovered in less than a day. Yun Luofeng took a sip of tea and asked, "Can I ask you a question?" "Please ask, Miss Yun." Xin Yuan grinned, his expression simple and honest. "I will tell you everything I know. I just want to ask if there is any special place in your country." "Special?" Xin Yuan pondered for a while before replying. "There is a forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Those who enter the forbidden area will lose their lives. After a long time, no one has entered it. If there is a special place, it would be this place." "Forbidden area?" Yun Luofeng paused. "Can you take me to the forbidden area to have a look?" Xin Yuan smiled bitterly and shook his head. In order to prevent innocent people from dying, the elders do not allow anyone to enter the forbidden area unless they have the token of an elder. So, there is nothing I can do. For some reason, Yin Luofeng had a premonition that she could definitely find a way to leave the forbidden area. Then can I trouble you to take me to see the elders of your country? Xian Yuan was silent for a moment and nodded. Okay, come with me. In this country, the royal family and the elders were not high and mighty. On the contrary, if someone wanted to see them, they only needed to report and receive permission to enter. This was why Xian Yuan brought Yin Luofeng to the elders' hall. At this moment, within the elders' courtyard, all the elders were discussing something, and their faces were filled with worry. Right at this moment, someone came to report that Xian Yuan had brought an unfamiliar woman to see him. Xian Yuan brought a woman to see us? The oldest old man was stunned. He frowned and said, could it be that Xian Yuan wants to take a concubine? That won't do. We won't allow him to fool around. In this country, the number of women was obviously less than the number of men. As such, polygamy was not allowed in order to prevent other men from not having a wife. Even if Xian Yuan was a king, he could only have one queen. Unless the queen died in an accident, then he could remarry. Let them come in first. Let's see what's going on, another elder suggested. Hearing this, the elderly man nodded slightly. Let them in. After a while, the door was opened, and a ray of light shone in from outside. The brilliant light enveloped the man and woman at the door. The woman was a peerless beauty that could topple a city. Her pitch-black eyes faintly contained an evil glint, and her expression was somewhat lazy and satisfied. Chapter 1544. All the elders' eyes were filled with shock. Whether it was the queen or the grand tutor, they were all great beauties in the country. However, compared to this woman in white, they were worlds apart. No wonder the monarch had brought this woman to find them. Monarch. The elderly man frowned slightly. Why did you bring this lady here? Although this woman was beautiful, in their country, power was everything. No matter how beautiful she was just a vase. Great elder. Xian Yuan's expression was respectful. Lady Yin wants to go to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Please allow her. No. The great elder's expression darkened. He said sternly, what kind of place is the forbidden area? No one who has gone there has ever returned alive. We will not allow anyone to step into that place again. You better go back. Lady Yin. Xian Yuan turned to Yin Luofeng and smiled bitterly. As you can see, the elders do not allow you to go there. To be honest, Xian Yuan did not intend to let Yin Luofeng go to the forbidden area. After all, that place was too dangerous. Wouldn't it be courting death for a woman like her? Yin Luofeng looked up at the elders. What if I say that the forbidden area has a way to allow you to leave this place? What? Yin Luofeng's words instantly stirred up a storm in the elders' hearts. The forbidden area had a way to allow them to leave this damn place? It had to be said that to the elders, leaving the bottom of the cliff was the most important thing. If what Yin Luofeng said was true, could they take the risk and give it a try? The elders hesitated and looked at each other. Finally, they turned to look at the great elder and waited for his decision. Just as the great elder was about to speak, a chuckle came from outside the house. A woman in a green dress walked in with the queen. There was a faint smile on her face as she looked at Yin Luofeng with her clear eyes. At this moment, the queen also saw Yin Luofeng's face. Her heart was filled with jealousy and anger. She, who did not think much of it, did not expect that the woman the monarch had picked up would be so beautiful. If she did not die, how could she be at ease? Fortunately, this idiot had offended a great person like the imperial tutor. How could he continue to live unscathed? Elders. Lin Yu retracted her gaze and sneered. Don't be fooled by this woman. I've already predicted that there's no way to help you leave. If there really is a way to leave the forbidden area, how could I not know about it? The elders hesitated again. Indeed, they had all seen the abilities of the imperial preceptor. If there really was a way to leave the forbidden grounds, how could the imperial preceptor not know? Also, Lin Yu paused, his sharp gaze sweeping towards Yin Luofeng. Yesterday, I observed the stars and discovered that a woman will come to our country today. Moreover, this woman will one day cause a destructive blow to our country. In the beginning, the elders did not like Xian Yuan bringing a woman to see them, but they did not show any unfriendliness. Now that they heard Lin Yoyu's words, all their gazes turned to Yun Luofeng. Their eyes were filled with vigilance and doubt. King, this woman's origins are unknown, and she will bring disaster to the entire country. The great elder pondered for a moment and said, "Therefore, you should immediately chase her out. From now on, she is not allowed to take another step in." Chapter 1545. Lin Yuyu narrowed her eyes. Chasing Yun Luofeng out was not what she wanted. "Great elder, I've already said that this woman will bring disaster to the country. We will only be spared if she dies." Die? The elders were stunned. They had lived here for so long, and it had always been peaceful and peaceful. There had never been any conflict or struggle. Therefore, it was difficult for them to get over the mental barrier of killing someone. Lin Yoyu's eyes flashed, and she continued to tempt them. "Elders, do you think it's more worthwhile to sacrifice her alone or to let the entire country perish?" Indeed, even if they were sinners and killed this unknown woman, it was better than letting everyone in the country die. The great elder sighed softly. "Men, capture this woman and burn her to death." "Elder," Xian Yuan's expression changed. "Isn't it too one-sided to think that Lady Yun will destroy the country just because of the Grand Tutor's words?" In reality, Xin Yuan had never had a good impression of Lin Yoyu. This woman could decide the life and death of people with a wave of her hand, causing countless people to face terror. Yet she stood high and mighty and accepted the worship of the world. Did she not think that her actions were cruel? Now, she had casually decided to kill Yun Luofeng. How could a person's life be taken so easily? "King, as the king of the country, you should consider the entire country." The great elder frowned. "You can't be willful now. Back then, you were so willful that you didn't want to marry the queen and insisted on thinking about someone who had passed away. Will you start thinking about the bigger picture?" Xian Yuan's body trembled. What happened back then was a pain that he could never erase. Even now, the wound in his heart had not healed. Yun Luofeng laughed at the fact that these people had casually decided his life and death. "What are you laughing at?" Lin Yoyu's expression turned cold. "Do we know each other?" Yun Luofeng glanced at Lin Yoyu and curled his lips. If they didn't know each other, would this woman want to kill him? "I'm just stating my prophecy. It has nothing to do with you." "Is that so?" Yun Luofeng stroked his chin and smiled. "Today, in the market, I saw you determine the life and death of a person. I wonder what illness that person has and when he will die." Lin Yu looked at Yun Luofeng impatiently. "He doesn't have any illness. If Yama wants him dead, no one can stop him. Moreover, his lifespan is less than 5 days. Are you sure no one can stop it?" Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, a dangerous light in them. Lin Yuyu's heart skipped a beat. For some reason, a bad premonition surged from the bottom of her heart, but she still braced herself and said, "That's right. No one can stop it." Yun Luofeng didn't say anything else. He turned to look at Xian Yuan and said, "Go and summon that person. I can stop him from dying." "Miss Yun, are you sure?" Xian Yuan was very surprised. To prevent others from dying, was that even possible? Yun Luofeng's lips curled into a smile. "So what if he's the king of hell?" "I'm sorry, but I've always liked to snatch lives from the king of hell." The last sentence was naturally directed at Lin Yoyu. Lin Yoyu's expression was very ugly. The uneasiness in her heart grew stronger, but she did not know why. All right, to be honest, Xian Yuan also did not believe that Yun Luofeng could snatch lives from the king of hell. However, this was indeed the only way to save her. Thus, he did not hesitate and ordered someone to bring the person who was about to die today. Chapter 1546. Many people had witnessed what had happened at the market, so it was very easy to find the culprit. In a short while, the despairing young man was brought over. "Let's begin." Yun Luofeng slowly walked toward the young man who was sitting paralyzed on the ground. With a flip of her hand, a silver needle wrapped in cloth appeared in her hand. The entire elder's room was silent as everyone stared at Yun Luofeng quietly. After Yun Luofeng disinfected the silver needle in her hand, she slowly pierced it into the young man's body. With a groan, the entire silver needle was buried in his body. As the silver needle was buried, Yun Luofeng's spiritual power was slowly channeled in. Soon, the young man's body was covered in silver needles, and his pale face began to recover. However, no one had any hope. After all, the Grand Tutor's power was obvious, and no one could escape her prophecy. This poor young man was the same. Done. Time passed slowly. As these two words rang out, Yun Luofeng placed her palm on the young man's chest. With a bang, the silver needles that had been buried in his body were instantly shaken out. At the same time, the young man spat out a mouthful of dark green blood. Lin Yuyu's face was ashen, and a cold look flashed across her eyes. Even if this woman's medical skills were brilliant and could cure this young man, so what? 5 days was enough for him to use all his means to kill him. However, Yun Luofeng's next words abruptly destroyed Lin Yuyu's plan. As this matter is of great importance, in order to prevent others from resorting to murder, let her stay in the elder's room for the next 5 days. I hope that all of you can keep an eye on her. Yun Luofeng turned to look at the elders and spoke plainly. The elders still did not believe in Yun Luofeng's abilities. However, in order to convince Yun Luofeng of his loss, they had agreed. This country was isolated from the rest of the world, and its residents were very simple. They would definitely do what they promised, so Yun Luofeng left in peace. Elders, Lin Yuyu frowned slightly as a cold light flashed across her eyes. Before she could finish her sentence, Xian Yuan interrupted her coldly. Grand Tutor, so what if we give her 5 days? If this young man dies, it proves that your prophecy is correct. If he is still alive, it proves that you're only SOSO. I wonder if the Grand Tutor has the courage to wait for 5 days? In 5 days, he would have a chance to think of a way to save Yun Luofeng. Lin Yuyu's face was deathly pale. He clenched his fists tightly as a cold light flickered in his eyes. Imperial Tutor, there will be a decision in 5 days. Don't worry, Imperial Tutor, the Great Elder said. Lin Yuyu fiercely flung his sleeves, turned around, and walked out. She also rejoiced in her heart, hoping that Yun Luofeng's medical skills would not be able to cure her poison. The youth's face was still ashen. His trust in Lin Yuyu made it impossible for him to believe that he could live for another 5 days. In his heart, he had already sentenced himself to death. 5 days passed quickly. In these 5 days, the citizens of the country all knew about the bet between Yun Luofeng and Lin Yuyu. Of course, everyone scoffed at Yun Luofeng for overestimating himself. The Imperial Tutor was like a deity. How could there be any error in her judgment? That woman was obviously stalling for time in order to live for 5 more days. Unfortunately, 5 days later, she still couldn't escape death. However, in order to personally witness the fate of becoming the Imperial Tutor's enemy, these people did not sleep on the 4th night. Instead, they ran to the palace and stood outside the elder's room for an entire night, just to witness the pitiful youth's death. Chapter 1547. Creak. Under the crowd's expectant gaze, the door to the elder's chamber was slowly pushed open. The first person to step out of the door was an elderly man. The elderly man's face was expressionless, but a shrewd light shone in his old eyes. However, he did not speak in the face of the puzzled crowd. Elder, what's the situation? Is a young man dead? Should we take care of his funeral arrangements? In the end, a young man could not help but ask the question in his heart. However, no one believed that the young man was still alive. Anyone who had been declared dead by the Grand Tutor's judgment would undoubtedly die. The Grand Elder did not reply. He turned his body slightly to the side and revealed the entire room to the crowd. In the room, the young man's eyes were filled with bewilderment and astonishment, but most of it was the excitement that came from the depths of his soul. He's not dead. The Grand Tutor had declared that he would not live for more than 5 days. Now that 5 days have passed, he's actually still alive. What else could be more exciting than this? The rest of the crowd was also stunned on the spot, as if they could not believe what they were seeing. This young man is actually not dead. The Grand Tutor's prediction could be wrong. Behind the crowd, Lin Yuyu, who was dressed in a green robe, stared at the young man who had just stepped out of the room with a pale face. She bit her lips and began to tremble. Impossible. Her poison skills are exquisite, and no one in the entire Poison Valley can compare to her. Now, Yin Luofeng has actually managed to cure the poison. At this moment, an icy coldness enveloped her entire body, making her feel as if she had fallen into an ice house. Soon after, a vague sense of unease rose from the bottom of her heart. She turned around and was about to leave this place. Suddenly, a tall figure appeared in front of her and blocked her path. Then, a man's magnetic and hoarse voice rang out. "Lord Grand Tutor, where are you going?" Lin Yuyu's body suddenly froze. She raised her head mechanically and saw a handsome and dashing face. However, the smile on that face made her tremble with fear. "Empress, didn't you say that no one can stop this young man's death?" Xian Yuan laughed icily. "Now, what else do you have to say?" Lin Yu laughed awkwardly. "That was only a coincidence. Besides, my predictions have never been wrong." "Really?" Just as Lin Yu finished speaking, an evil voice came from the side. In that instant, Lin Yu's eyes were filled with rage. He turned his head and glared at the woman in white who was walking towards him. Under the morning light, the woman's clothes were whiter than snow. Her beauty could topple a city, and her every frown and every smile was magnificent. However, only Lin Yu gritted his teeth in hatred towards the woman walking towards him. "You have the ability to determine the life and death of others." Yin Luofeng raised his eyebrows and swept them over. The smile on his lips was filled with evil. "Then, I wonder if you can find someone who is about to die among these people." Ever since Xian Yuan had blocked Lin Yu's path, everyone's gazes had landed on her. Now that they heard Yin Luofeng's words, everyone felt their bodies tremble as they nervously stared at Lin Yu. Although that pitiful young man had survived, they were still extremely fearful of the Imperial Tutor's abilities. It was because of this that they were so terrified. Lin Yu's expression changed. "I don't casually determine the life and death of others. Otherwise, my abilities will go awry. Only under special circumstances will I be able to." Yin Luofeng did not have the patience to listen to Lin Yu's words. She raised her brow and said, "Xian Yuan, please snatch her space ring for me." Chapter 1548. Empress. The Great Elder frowned when he saw that Xian Yuan was about to make a move after hearing Yin Luofeng's words. He hurriedly stopped her and said, "Even though the Grand Tutor's judgment is wrong this time, we are still well aware of her previous abilities. I can let your friend go, but you cannot disrespect the Grand Tutor." Xian Yuan slowly walked in front of Lin Yu. He raised his hand and firmly grasped Lin Yu's clothes in his hand. "Empress, stop!" The Great Elder's expression was extremely ugly as he quickly stepped forward to stop Xian Yuan. However, it was too late. Xian Yuan had snatched the space ring from Lin Yu's hand and handed it to Yin Luofeng. Even he did not know why he trusted this woman so much. She had even disregarded the Elder's orders. "Empress." The Elders flew into a rage. Perhaps they had never thought that Xian Yuan would disregard their orders for the sake of a woman. However, before the Elders could vent their anger, they saw Yin Luofeng take out a pill from the space ring. This pill was what Lin Yu used to determine a person's life and death. Just from the smell alone, they could recognize it. Everyone was dumbstruck when they saw Yin Luofeng take out the pill. They clearly did not understand her intentions. It is said that because you cannot bear to do so, you will not personally determine a person's life and death. Instead, you use this to speak on your behalf. Yin Luofeng played with the pill in her hand as a smile curled on the corners of her lips. Her evil eyes glanced at Lin Yu. Lin Yu's face was deathly pale as she clenched her fists tightly. Since this woman knew that the pill was poisonous, why did she hold it in her hand? Could it be that she was not afraid of poison? "That's right, this is the pill." Without waiting for Lin Yu to answer, Xian Yuan answered for her. "Since that's the case, I wonder if the Grand Tutor is willing to take this pill?" Yin Luofeng looked at Lin Yu with a forced smile as she asked sinisterly. Lin Yu took 2 steps back and said, "This pill cannot be eaten. You can't eat it, but you can touch it?" Yin Luofeng's smile grew even wider. "In that case, are you willing to take the pill?" In reality, even though Lin Yu was born in the Poison Valley, he was not immune to all poisons. Usually, when she used this pill, she would wrap it with her spiritual power. She did not dare to let it come into contact with her skin, so she did not end up poisoned. But now, after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, Lin Yuyu took 2 steps back again, and panic flashed across his eyes. Xin Yuan seemed to sense something. He stretched out his hand, wanting to take the pill from Yun Luofeng's hand and force Lin Yuyu to take it. Unfortunately, before he could touch the pill, Yun Luofeng retracted his hand. If you want to die, you can try. Yun Luofeng narrowed his eyes, and a dangerous glint flashed across his eyes. Xin Yuan scratched his head and chuckled. You'll be fine even if you hold it. If something happens to me, you'll definitely have a way to save me. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng glanced at Xin Yuan before turning his gaze back to Lin Yuyu. This pill is yours. Why don't you have the guts to accept it? Lin Yuyu's eyes flickered, and there was a sinister look in his eyes. Who knows if you've poisoned the pill in an attempt to harm me? Yun Luofeng smiled. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, how am I supposed to poison it? Lin Yuyu. No, I should call you the eldest miss of the Poison Valley. In this hidden divine mountain, the only person she had ever offended was the Poison Valley. Yun Xiao and the others also thought that the Poison Valley had harmed her, so they had chased after the Poison Valley. Therefore, only the people from the Poison Valley could hate her to the core. Chapter 1549. Panic flashed across Lin Yuyu's eyes when her identity was exposed by Yun Luofeng, but she pretended to be calm and said, I don't understand what you mean. In any case, she would never admit that she had a grudge against Yun Luofeng. Grand Tutor, she's right. You are the eldest lady of the Poison Valley. A gentle and beautiful voice rang out from behind the crowd. When the crowd dispersed, a gentle-looking woman slowly walked over. Lin Yuyu's face darkened when she saw the gentle and beautiful woman. Grand Tutor, what do you mean by that? The Empress's beautiful eyes swept towards Lin Yuyu as she bit her lip. Grand Tutor, it's best that you don't deny it now. 5 days ago, you came to find me and told me about the grudge between you and Yun Luofeng. You even slandered her for seducing your father. With such a deep grudge between you and her, it's not strange that you want to frame her. Boom! Lin Yuyu's entire body surged with rage as she glared angrily at the gentle and beautiful face behind her. Empress, you, Grand Tutor, I've pretended to trust you all this while because I wanted to avenge my sister. Lin Yuyu covered her mouth as tears flowed down from her eyes. However, her words caused Xian Yuan's body to tremble, and his tightly clenched fists made cracking sounds. Empress, what did you just say? The Empress lowered her eyes as a sinister light flashed across her eyes. After a long while, she raised her head and her eyes were lovely and moving. Empress, I didn't want to say it at first. The real culprit behind my sister's murder is the Grand Tutor. Her finger instantly pointed at Lin Yuyu as her voice was filled with hatred. However, the people of our country have too much trust in the Grand Tutor. No one would believe me even if I said it. Now, I don't want to see her hurt any more innocent people, so I decided to expose this matter. As she spoke, Lin Yuyu slowly took out a cloth bag from her lapel and carefully opened it. In an instant, a brown pill was reflected in everyone's eyes. I picked up this pill after the Grand Tutor had left it behind. It hasn't passed through Miss Yun's hands. I wonder if the Grand Tutor dares to let this pill come into contact with your skin? In an instant, everyone turned to look at Lin Yuyu, their eyes filled with doubt. Lin Yuyu trembled with anger. Queen, don't forget that 2 years ago, you were the one who begged me to help you deal with your sister. You were the one who killed her. Now you want to frame me? The queen covered her mouth in surprise, tears falling from her eyes. She's my sister. How could I harm my sister's life? State Preceptor, in order to get rid of suspicion, you want to pour dirty water on my head. Is this appropriate? Lin Yuyu did not expect that the queen would step forward at this time and frame him. When did he kill her sister? 2 years ago, the queen bought a poison from him, and then her sister died suddenly. Through his examination, he found out that the poison that caused her sister's sudden death was the poison that the queen had bought. She had thought that she had something on the queen and could do whatever she wanted in this country from now on. She did not expect that because of her concealment, this woman would be so insidious as to frame her. Grand Tutor, Xian Yuan roared. His eyes turned red and filled with blood vessels. You killed Qing'er, his childhood sweetheart, the wife he had fallen in love with, had been murdered by the Grand Tutor? Chapter 1550. If he did not tear this woman into pieces, how could he vent the hatred in his heart? Lin Yu laughed coldly. Empress, do you really think that your actions will allow you to stay in your position? You've seen what happened to me. Unless you don't have any jealousy in your heart, once you do, you'll be doomed eternally. She had underestimated Yun Luofeng from the beginning. That was why she had lost so badly. The Empress was an extremely jealous woman and could not tolerate anyone around the Empress. If she wanted to deal with Yun Luofeng, she would definitely suffer a crushing defeat. The Empress' eyes darkened. When she looked up, there was a pitiful look in her eyes once again. Grand Tutor, I don't understand what you mean. Oomph. Lin Yu scoffed. You know it very well. After saying that, she did not say another word and her expression was cold. Grand Tutor, what exactly is going on? The Great Elder was silent for a moment before he asked angrily. In an instant, everyone looked at the Grand Tutor. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Yu's expression became uglier and uglier. Yun Luofeng glanced at the Empress. If he was not mistaken, the first time Lin Yu had brought the Empress to the Elder's room, the Empress had looked at him with an unfriendly gaze. There was even a hint of anger in her gaze. But now, she was speaking up for him? Yun Luofeng faintly narrowed his eyes. Soon after, he turned his head towards Lin Yu and said with a faint smile, Actually, this matter is very simple. This pill has been smeared with a lethal poison. Anyone who touches it will die within a few days. So, it's not that the Grand Tutor can determine a person's life or death. It's just that, if she poisons someone, that person will not die. Swoosh. The crowd was in an uproar. Everyone's anger seemed to have been ignited. However, they still restrained the impulse in their hearts and quietly waited for Lin Yu's explanation. Lin Yu laughed coldly and did not speak. It was as if she had tacitly agreed with Yun Luofeng's words. Grand Tutor, the Great Elder finally could not control himself and angrily berated. Is what she said true? You don't have the power of prophecy. All of this was caused by your own means? Lin Yu's lips curled into a mocking smile. Her eyes were filled with mockery. Her gaze slowly turned towards the Great Elder. She raised her eyebrows and coldly said, This is only because you are too stupid. Who can you blame? In other words, it was because they were too stupid that they were deceived by him. Since that was the case, who did they want to blame? At that moment, the crowd could no longer control themselves. They swarmed towards Lin Yu, wanting nothing more than to tear this woman into pieces. The Great Elder did not stop the impulsive crowd. He clenched his fists so tightly that they made cracking sounds. The reason why this woman was able to determine the life and death of others was because the people she determined to be dead had all been killed by her. What was laughable was that he actually believed in her without a shred of doubt, and even worshipped her like a god. Damn girl, how dare you lie to us? You'll definitely die a horrible death. I'm going to tear you into pieces right now to avenge the blood feud of our fellow countrymen. Go to hell. Hurry up and go to hell. You evil woman, you nearly caused me to lose my life. If I don't torture you to death, I won't be able to dispel the hatred in my heart. Among the crowd, the most furious was the young man who had been saved by Yun Luofeng. If it had not been for Yun Luofeng, he knew that he would not have lasted past the 5th day. Chapter 1551. But it was Lin Yu who had caused all of this. Apart from that, the people who had lost their loved ones to Lin Yu were also furious. They took out their weapons and slashed at Lin Yu's limbs. Lin Yu let out a heart-wrenching scream from the intense pain. Her entire body was drenched in blood, and she trembled uncontrollably. Yun Luofeng. It was all Yun Luofeng's fault. If not for this woman, she would not have ended up like this. Thinking of this, she glared at Yun Luofeng maliciously. She bit her tongue fiercely and spat out a mouthful of blood. Yun Luofeng, I curse you. In the end, Your fate will be worse than mine. Ha 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 ha. She laughed arrogantly. Her laughter was filled with insolence and arrogance, as if she didn't put anyone in her eyes. Xian Yuan panicked. Miss Yin, what should we do? A curse made with blood from the tip of her tongue will definitely come true. Yun Luofeng's expression remained calm. So what? A curse is just a curse. I would not even fear the emperor himself. Why would I be afraid of a curse? Miss Yun, Xian Yuan's brows were filled with worry. In their country, there was a saying that a curse made from blood from the tip of the tongue was the most powerful and would almost always come true. So, when she heard that the target of Lin Yuyu's curse was Yun Luofeng, the queen subconsciously heaved a sigh of relief. A person could only curse once. Thus, she had escaped this calamity. Yun Luofeng's evil eyes swept toward Xian Yuan. Which is stronger, the power of the curse or the rules of the world? Xian Yuan was stunned. He looked at Yun Luofeng in confusion. It must be the rules of the world. Hearing this, Yun Luofeng laughed. Even if the world cannot restrain me, what can a curse do to me? She laughed coldly. Her brows were furrowed. Furthermore, if the heavens want me dead, I will destroy them first. If someone wants me dead, I will destroy his entire family first. If a god wants to kill me, I will destroy his entire family. Like this, I want to see who can kill me now. Yun Luofeng had never feared the heavens. Would she be afraid of a small curse? If someone wanted to kill her, she would first make them disappear. Perhaps Xian Yuan had been shocked by Yun Luofeng's earth-shattering words and was speechless for a long time. But the great elder was very dissatisfied with her words and unconsciously frowned. Miss Yun, I am very grateful to you for revealing the imperial tutor's true identity. However, the heavens are not something you can insult. The laws of heaven and earth are not something that ordinary people can break. We need to be fearful of the gods of heaven and earth. Yun Luofeng coldly glanced at the great elder, stopping him from chattering away. It's your business if you're afraid of the world, but I've never had anything to fear. Since you worship the gods so much, why didn't the gods come to save you? In this country, the gods of heaven and earth were the people's faith. They maintained a sense of respect for the illusory existences like the gods. But after hearing Yun Luofeng's words, the crowd fell silent. I think that this girl is right. We've worshipped the heavens for so many years, but we're still trapped in this place. Furthermore, if it wasn't for our faith in the gods, we wouldn't have thought of the imperial tutor as the savior sent by the gods. That's why we've fallen for a trick. I think that we should think of a way to leave by ourselves. We shouldn't rely on the illusory gods. The crowd's voices made the great elder's expression turn increasingly ugly. However, he could not find any words to refute. Chapter 1552. Yun Luofeng did not give him a chance to speak and continued to look at Xian Yuan. Take me to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Xian Yuan was stunned and subconsciously looked up at Great Elder. Under his questioning gaze, the first elder finally sighed and helplessly gave up. You can go, Great Elder. The queen's face was pale. That forbidden area is too dangerous. Those who go there will most likely die. Isn't this forcing people to their deaths? Of course, the queen did not say this because she was worried about Yun Luofeng. After all, she wanted Yun Luofeng to be turned to ashes. She only understood Xian Yuan and understood that if Great Elder agreed, Xian Yuan would definitely personally take Yun Luofeng to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Therefore, even if she hated Yun Luofeng to the core, she still did not want Great Elder to agree to her request. Xian Yuan's tone was a little impatient. Great Elder has already agreed. What are you saying? The queen's body stiffened and she lowered her head slightly. She looked very wronged and bit her lip tightly. After a long time, Yun Luofeng's lazy voice sounded again. I could go to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain alone. You only need to show me the way. Xian Yuan was stunned and asked worriedly, Miss Yun, the forbidden area at the back of the mountain is too dangerous. If you go alone, I won't be at ease. In any case, Yun Luofeng had helped him and had even unearthed the murderer who had killed his beloved. How could he just watch as Yun Luofeng charged into a land of death? It's useless for you to go. You'll only drag me down, Yin Luofeng said calmly. So I could go alone. Both Great Elder and the Queen breathed a sigh of relief at Yun Luofeng's words. They did not want Xin Yuan to be involved in this matter. Otherwise, if this country chose another king, it would take a lot of time. Miss Yin, you can't enter the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. I will send a guard to escort you to the forbidden area. Great Elder smiled. His tone was not as dissatisfied as before. Instead, it was polite. Yin Luofeng did not speak. To be honest, she did not have a good impression of the people in this place except for Xin Yuan. As for the risk of going to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain, she was just doing it for herself. After the guard left with Yin Luofeng, the Great Elder looked away and turned to Xin Yuan. King, come with me, he said calmly. Xin Yuan nodded and followed the Great Elder into the Elder's room. At this moment, no one noticed that the Queen, who had been standing beside Xin Yuan, had disappeared inside the Elder's room. Xin Yuan was a little uneasy, not knowing why the Great Elder was looking for him. The Great Elder and the other elders looked at each other before looking at Xin Yuan and sighing. King, we've been hiding something from you. It's a legacy left behind by our ancestors. Legacy? Xin Yuan was stunned and asked, what legacy? The Great Elder pondered for a moment. The legacy left behind by our ancestors is that in the future, whoever can lead us out of this place will be a god sent by the heavens to save us. Otherwise, why do you think I've made you all revere the gods for so many years? Great Elder, you mean? Xin Yuan looked up at the Great Elder in shock. If Yun Luofeng really finds a way to leave the forbidden area, she will be the person sent by the gods to save us? Chapter 1553. The Great Elder shook his head and sighed helplessly. Let's not talk about whether she can help us. Just the fact that she's so disrespectful to the deities proves that she's not someone sent by the deities. Xin Yuan clenched his fists. He glanced at the window in front of him with worry in his eyes. He naturally hoped that Yin Luofeng was the person that the Great Elder had mentioned. That way, her life could be saved. In the bedchamber, the gentle and beautiful woman was somewhat restless. Her eyes were filled with worry. At this moment, a palace maid hurried in and knelt in front of the gentle and beautiful woman. She reported respectfully, Your Majesty, I overheard the conversation between the Great Elder and the Empress. Then, the palace maid reported the contents of the conversation without missing a word. The Empress lowered her eyes and muttered to herself. After a long while, she raised her beautiful eyes and her lips curled into a cold smile. The person sent by the deities can allow the people of our country to leave this wretched place. Furthermore, if someone can lead the people out, they must be worshipped like a deity. Your Majesty, that is indeed what the Great Elder said. The palace maid lowered her head, and her voice was very respectful. The Empress turned her beautiful eyes slightly. There was a vicious light in her gloomy eyes. She did not know why, but she had a feeling that Yin Luofeng's arrival was fated. Perhaps she could really lead the people out of here? No, I can't sit here and wait for death. The position of the Empress must belong to me. The most respected woman must also be me. Only then could she stand by the Emperor's side and stand shoulder to shoulder with the Empress. It would be fine if Yin Luofeng died. If she succeeded and the Great Elder asked her to give up the position of Empress in order to rope her in, how could she refuse? In order to keep this position and for the Empress, she had to do something. At this moment, the Empress threw Lin Yoyu's dying words to the back of her mind. She only knew that Yin Luofeng must die. Your Majesty, the palace maid was stunned. She gathered her courage and said, Yin Luofeng has already gone to the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Without the Great Elder's orders, we can't go there. It's all right. The Empress smiled sinisterly. I have my ways to enter the back of the mountain. In the past, the Empress would never have risked her life. But now, for the Empress, she could not care so much. Little Chun, I'm going to the back of the mountain now. If the king comes looking for me, you must stop him. Yes, Queen. Palace maid Xiao Chun lowered her head again and said respectfully. After the queen gave the order, she quickly walked out and hurried towards the back of the mountain. At this moment, on the back of the mountain, two guards saw the queen walking over quickly and hurriedly blocked her way with their swords. They said expressionlessly, "Queen, without the great elder's orders, no one is allowed to enter the back of the mountain." The queen's face turned cold as she shouted, "How dare you? I am here under the great elder's orders. Get out of my way. Empress, please forgive me for not being able to comply. Unless you take out the great elder's token, you will not be able to enter the back of the mountain." The queen sneered. "The great elder only has one token, and he has already given it to Lady Yun. What do you expect me to get another token for you?" This. The two guards fell silent for a moment and looked at each other, clearly doubting the veracity of the queen's words. The queen's eyes darkened. "To be honest, I have come because the great elder regrets his decision to order me to bring Lady Yun away. If Lady Yun loses her life in the back of the mountain because of your obstruction, will you be able to bear the consequences?" Chapter 1554. The two guards looked at each other and asked, "Please wait for a moment, Your Majesty. We'll inform the head elder. If the head elder allows it, we'll let you in." The Empress knitted her willowy brows again when she heard the guard's words, and the impatience in her eyes deepened. "All right, I'll wait for you here. Unfortunately, by the time you've reported back, Miss Yin would have been long gone. By then, if the head elder blames you, you'll have to bear the responsibility." The Empress fiercely flung her sleeves and berated them sternly. The two guards trembled when they heard this. In the end, they gritted their teeth and said, "Your Majesty, you'd better go and come back quickly." Once they had spoken, the two of them separated and made way for the Empress. The Empress scoffed icily and strode in. The moment she entered the back of the mountain, the corners of her lips curled into a smile, as if her scheme had succeeded. In the back of the mountain, the young girl paused in front of a cave. She could faintly sense a powerful aura coming from the cave, and there was even the sound of a dragon's roar. If I'm not wrong, this cave is the forbidden area. Yin Luofeng fell silent for a moment before she slowly walked into the cave. The moment she stepped into the cave, a wave of heat rushed towards her, almost pushing her out of the cave. "Master, I sense a very powerful force in this cave. The puppet's body has yet to recover, and it won't be able to withstand more than a few attacks. You must be careful." Yin Luofeng gently stroked the jade pendant on her neck as her lips curled into a smile. "All right. In reality, this jade pendant of hers could withstand one fatal attack. Otherwise, she would not have taken the risk to come here." As she ventured deeper, Yin Luofeng felt the wave of heat become more and more intense. It was as if it was going to roast her into ashes. Very soon, Yin Luofeng stopped and turned her gaze toward the front. Her eyes were filled with shock and bewilderment. In a large, deep pit, an icy blue water dragon was bound in the pit by a thick metal chain. Its body was transparent, and it let out a sorrowful roar. It was surrounded by bright red flames. The temperature of the flames was scorching, and the water dragon was in extreme pain. Logically speaking, water subdued fire. However, this fire was not extinguished by the water dragon. The scorching heat seeped into one's soul. Even standing in front of the deep pit, one could feel one's soul trembling. "Master, be careful." Little Mo's nervous voice rang out when he saw the huge wave rushing towards him. Yin Luofeng came back to his senses and dodged to the side. At this moment, her back was drenched in cold sweat. If she was touched by this huge wave, she would definitely be scared out of her wits. There was no way to save him. "Master, this flame is very fierce. It's the reincarnation flame that can never be extinguished. Even if you're just touched by a spark, you'll die. However, this water dragon's soul has stayed in the flames for so long, yet it hasn't been extinguished. That's quite surprising." "Tisk." As soon as Little Mo finished speaking, Bai Shao sneered, "Can't you see that? The reason why the water dragon's soul hasn't been extinguished after staying in the spirit flame for so long is not only because of its own abilities, but also because it has devoured many souls and is using these souls to restore its own soul." Bai Shao was the tree of life. During this period of time, she had not done anything in the temple, but now she could not help but interrupt. Chapter 1555. Master, all these years, the reason why those who have come here have been unable to return is because they have become nutrients for the water dragon. Therefore, in order to avoid suffering the same fate, we should leave first. Yun Luofeng fell silent. She had a feeling that the opportunity to leave this place lay beneath the water dragon. However, ignoring the ferocious fire of reincarnation, just this water dragon alone was not something she could fight against. Master, be careful. Suddenly, little Mo's anxious voice rang out from within her soul. Yun Luofeng instantly raised her head and saw that the water dragon was already staring at her with its ferocious eyes. Its slightly open mouth emitted a powerful suction force. That suction force was like a hand that was forcefully dragging her soul out. As for the water dragon's open mouth, it was like an endless black hole that one could not see the bottom of. Yun Luofeng clenched her fists tightly. She felt as if a huge mountain was pressing down on her body. She could not move and could only stare helplessly at the water dragon's gaping mouth. Yun Luofeng, I've finally found you. Die. However, at that moment, a cold laugh rang out from behind her. Yun Luofeng turned her head forcefully and saw that the Empress had appeared behind her without her knowing. Her slender, jade-like hands pushed Yun Luofeng fiercely, pushing her into the raging sea of flames. At that moment, Yun Luofeng no longer had the time to think about why she had not sensed the Empress at all when she had appeared here. She also could not think about why the Empress could come to this back mountain. She only knew that there were endless dangers waiting for her below. Crack! The jade tablet on her neck split in half. The rope also broke and fell into the flames. Roar! When the water dragon saw that its food had fallen, it did not care about the arrogant and smug Empress who was standing in front of the deep pit. It used its tail to wrap around Yun Luofeng's body, its ice-blue eyes filled with greed. The Seven Continents. In a remote town, a couple was sitting in an inn, resting. Between the two of them, the man was dressed in embroidered robes and looked cultured and elegant. The woman, on the other hand, was valiant and elegant. Her hair was tied up with a red ribbon, and her red robes fluttered gently in the breeze. Suddenly, the woman in red's face paled, and she stood up with a thud. What happened? The man was startled. His gentle eyes gazed at the woman in red as he asked. The woman in red clenched her fists tightly. Do you still remember the jade token I gave Fenger when we first met? She took a deep breath. I've been carrying this jade token with me since I was young. I've always had a strong feeling about its existence. Back then, I gave Fenger the jade token not only to save her life, but also to let me know if she's still alive. The man's heart suddenly trembled, and he also quickly stood up, eyebrows and eyes filled with worry. You mean, I can sense that the jade pendant has shattered. There was probably no one who didn't know what it meant when the jade token shattered. In other words, Yun Luofeng had already encountered a fatal crisis. I'm going to find Fenger in shower? The woman in red's eyes were domineering and her voice was filled with killing intent. If I find out who dares to touch my daughter-in-law, I will make them suffer a fate worse than hell. At the same time, Grandpa Jun, who was in the middle of disciplining his own disciple, seemed to have felt something. With a poochy sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Chapter 1556. Master, Jun Xian's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly held onto his father. He was so worried that he was about to cry. Master, it's all my fault. I actually made you so angry that you vomited blood. Disciple promises that I will listen to Master in everything from now on. I will never make you angry again. The pitiful Jun Xian thought that he had angered Grandpa Jun, causing him to vomit 3 liters of blood. However, Grandpa Jun's face was pale and filled with grief. Little Yun, something really happened this time. What? Jun Xian widened his eyes in shock and looked at Grandpa Ju. Impossible. You gave her the soul jade plate. If she is in danger, she can just tear the soul jade plate, and you'll be able to save her. She hasn't even touched the soul jade plate. How could she be in danger? Grandpa Jun shook his head sorrowfully. If that Yin lass really did tear up the jade pendant, it proves that the danger she faced can still be resolved. Since she didn't even touch the jade tablet, it proves that even if I appeared, I wouldn't be able to save her. Based on this girl's character, how could she possibly drag down another person before she dies? Other than the Jun family jade plate that Jun Fengling had given her, Yin Luofeng also had the soul jade plate that Grandpa Jun had given her before she left. It was also because of this soul jade tablet that Grandpa Jun could clearly sense that Yin Luofeng was in mortal danger. Perhaps she no longer existed in this world. Two streams of tears flowed down from the corners of Grandpa Jun's eyes. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have allowed her to go to the Hidden God Mountain. In a corner of the Jun family's courtyard, Jun Linger hid her body behind the wall. Perhaps it was because Grandpa Jun was in a state of grief that he did not realize that Jun Linger had heard his words at this moment. Jun Linger's body was trembling uncontrollably. Unknowingly, tears were streaming down her cheeks. Sister Yin is dead? The big Sister Yin who had protected Chao Yueqin while she was strutting around was already dead? Impossible. How could such a powerful and domineering big Sister Yin die? Grandpa must be lying? Jun Linger bit her lip and turned to walk out of the Jun residence. She had only taken a few steps when a hand grabbed her from behind. Ling, or where are you going? Jun Linger's body trembled. With her back facing the man behind her, her slightly lowered eyes flashed with determination. Cousin, I'm just going out to relax. Relax? I think you're planning to go to the Hidden God Mountain to relax, right? Hua Yifei stared straight at Jun Linger. Under his gaze, Jun Linger had nowhere to hide. Cousin, I'm just going to verify if Big Sister Yin is really dead. No, it's too dangerous there. You can't go. Hua Yifei tightly grabbed Jun Linger's hand and said. Jun Linger's expression was very sorrowful, and her frail body looked very pitiful. Even so, her spirited voice was still filled with determination. Back then, when Chao Yueqin bullied me, she stood up for me. Even my father only advised me to be patient. But she wasn't afraid of the Jun family. She taught Chao Yueqin a lesson on my behalf. Cousin, in this world, other than grandfather, only you and her can disregard everything and stand by my side. Even my father can't do this. Jun Linger had no intention of blaming Jun Xian. After all, Jun Xian was the head of the Jun family. He had to consider many things. She just wanted to say that no matter what, she had to go to the Hidden God Mountain. Linger. Chapter 1557. Hua Yifei's heart tightened, but at this moment, Jun Linger suddenly turned her head and kissed his lips. This sudden action caused Hua Yifei's body to stiffen. Then, a wave of dizziness came over him, causing his body to stagger a few times. Ling Yubang. Before Hua Yifei could finish his words, he fell to the ground head first and lost all consciousness. Cousin, I'm sorry, I must go to the Hidden God Mountain. She wiped the corner of her mouth, turned around, and walked out, not even looking back at Hua Yifei. She was afraid that if she looked at him one more time, she would not be able to bear to leave. Young master, young master. A passing servant saw the unconscious Hua Yifei on the ground and shouted anxiously, "Someone come quickly! Young master has fainted." At this moment, Grandpa Jun was still grieving. When he heard the servant's words, he did not have time to recover from his pain and quickly walked towards the front yard. Master, what happened to Yifei? Jun Xian frowned. Indeed, before one wave had subsided, Hua Yifei had suddenly fainted before Yun Luofeng's life or death was even known. That's right, where is Ling? In the past, if Jun Linger had heard that Hua Yifei had fainted, she would have rushed over immediately. Why was there no sign of her now? Grandpa Jun had already straightened his back. He waved his hand and had people carry Hua Yifei back to his room to rest. You don't need to look for Ling. This sentence was directed at Jun Xian. Master. Jun Xian looked at Grandpa Jun in surprise. What did Master mean by this? Yifei fainted because he was drugged, and this drugging was done by Linger. What? Jun Xian was shocked. Linger and Hua Yifei were childhood sweethearts. They loved each other. Why would she poison him? Grandpa Jun smiled bitterly and shook his head. If I'm not wrong, Linger must have heard our conversation and found out about Yin Luofeng's accidental death. She must have gone to the Hidden God Mountain. At this moment, Jun Xian's expression changed. He hurriedly ordered, "Men, go and bring the young miss back immediately." Grandpa Jun did not stop Jun Xian's actions. At his age, he could no longer bear the pain of losing any more family members. "Xian, you will continue to manage the Jun family. I will be leaving for a while." "Master, where are you going?" "If he's alive, I want to see him. If he's dead, I want to see his corpse. Even if the Yun girl is already dead, I will still bring her corpse back from the hidden God mountain and let her rest in peace." The old man took a deep breath, suppressing the pain in his heart, and slowly said, "Master." Jun Xian was so scared that he hugged the old man and said nervously, "You can't go. The Jun family can't live without you, and I don't want to lose you." Sigh. Grandpa Jun sighed and slowly raised his hand. From the looks of it, he wanted to stroke Jun Xian's head. Don't judge Jun Xian by how awe-inspiring he was in the Jun family. In front of his master, he was always like a child. So, Grandfather Jun's actions were not surprising. "Master." Jun Xian's eyes were filled with tears. He raised his head and waited for his master's caress. Jun Xian did not wait for his master's caress. What he waited for was a muffled thud. Grandpa Jun's hand had already landed heavily on his head. At that moment, Jun Xian felt stars before his eyes. He became dizzy and his body fell backwards. Before he fainted, Jun Xian only said one sentence, "Master, you are so cruel." Chapter 1558. Grandpa Jun glanced at Jun Xian, who was lying on the ground, then turned to the Jun family. "Carry him away. He'll wake up on his own in less than half a day." "Yes, old master." The Jun family members responded, but their mouths were twitching. They finally understood where the young miss had learned her personality from, as expected of the people brought up by the old master. They were all so unreasonable. First, the young miss knocked out Hawaii Fei. Then the old master directly knocked out the old master with a single slap. Grandpa Jun slowly turned around and walked out the door, hidden Divine Mountain, the forbidden area at the back of the mountain. Inside the huge pit, there was a sea of flames that was incomparably bright red. She slowly opened her eyes and looked at her palm. A look of surprise flashed across her evil eyes. "Am I not dead yet?" When she came back to her senses, she found herself in a protective circle. No flames could touch her. "Master, this is the effect of the jade tablet that Jun Fengling gave you. However, this layer of protection can only last for a short period of time. During this period of time, all attacks will be useless against you. Once this period of time is over, you will no longer be able to do anything." At the beginning, Yin Luofeng had thought that the jade tablet could only block one attack for her, but she didn't know how to block it. Only now did she understand that there was a seal set up within the jade tablet. Once she encountered danger, the seal would automatically release itself, and a protective layer would appear to protect her. "Xiao Mo, by Xiao, do you have any way to let me temporarily ignore the fire of reincarnation?" Yin Luofeng asked after thinking for a while. "As long as I can ignore the fire of reincarnation, I'll have a chance to deal with this water dragon." Outside the protective barrier, the water dragon glared at Yin Luofeng. Its eyes were filled with savagery, greed, and anger. The food that was already in their hands flew away just like that. No matter who it was, they would feel unhappy. "Master," Bai Zhao's clear voice came slowly. "My tree of life can protect you and allow you to ignore the fire of reincarnation for 15 minutes. However, you must remember that you only have 15 minutes. If you exceed this time, even I won't be able to help you." 15 minutes? Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. 15 minutes is enough. At this point, the layer of barrier that was protecting her gradually faded, as if it would disappear at any time. The water dragon's eyes were filled with excitement, because it could already sense that this human girl's soul was about to become its food. Ha! The protective barrier suddenly burst like a bubble. At the same time, a faint green light surrounded Yun Luofeng, dispersing the flames that wanted to devour her. A cool feeling spread throughout her body, making her feel comfortable. Roar! Even though the water dragon was surprised that the world annihilation flame had retreated, it did not hesitate and charged at Yun Luofeng. The gigantic dragon tail slammed into Yun Luofeng's body, sending her flying. She coughed up a mouthful of blood, causing her face to pale. Yun Luofeng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and looked at the giant dragon with vigilance and determination. "You're just the soul of a giant dragon. I don't believe that I can't subdue you." The water dragon sensed Yun Luofeng's provocation and became even angrier. The chains on its body rattled as it shook, its eyes filled with anger. Chapter 1559. Roar. The water dragon roared angrily and swung its tail at Yun Luofeng, as if it wanted to kill the woman in front of it in one blow. Bang! Yun Luofeng took a few steps back and slammed heavily into the rock wall. She lifted her head and wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, a mocking smile in her eyes. Again, her steps were very fast. In an instant, she was in front of the water dragon. She grabbed the two dragon horns on its head tightly with both hands and suddenly climbed up. Roar! The water dragon was even more furious. It opened its mouth and spat out dragon breath, but Yun Luofeng had already climbed up its head. The dragon breath could only hit the wall and be swallowed by the flames. "If you were still alive, perhaps I would fear you. Now you're just a spirit." At first, the water dragon did not think much of the woman in white. It desperately shook its head, trying to shake the woman off its head. But then, the woman did something that made it so angry that it wanted to split apart. The woman lay on the water dragon's head to maintain her balance. Then she opened her mouth and bit down on the water dragon's head. With a ripping sound, she tore out a piece of the dragon's soul and chewed it slowly in her mouth. Roar! The intense pain caused the water dragon's entire body to tremble. It could not help but howl. Its entire body contorted in pain, and its movements to shake Yun Luofeng became more and more violent. But the woman was still holding on tightly to the dragon's horns and gnawing on the water dragon's soul. "You want to devour my soul, so I'll devour yours first." Rip! Another wave of intense pain. The water dragon no longer had its usual domineering cruelty. Its eyes were pleading as it whimpered. It seemed to be begging for mercy, hoping that Yun Luofeng would let it go. "Let you go." Yun Luofeng laughed coldly. "If I were the one who lost, would you let me go?" If she failed, she could only be devoured by the water dragon. Since that was the case, she might as well devour the water dragon's soul first. Roar! The water dragon slammed its body against the rock wall in pain. Its cries became even more furious and pained. If Yun Luofeng had not climbed up its head, it would definitely have torn this woman into 1,000 pieces. Yun Luofeng also sensed the killing intent in the water dragon's heart, and his gnawing became more and more violent. Gradually, the water dragon withered and didn't resist as fiercely as before. Its soul was very weak, so weak that it could disappear at any moment. Seeing that the water dragon no longer had the ability to resist, Yun Luofeng summoned the gold-seeking rats. In an instant, the rats surrounded the water dragon and used their sharp teeth to crush its soul, eating it with relish. Not long after, the entire water dragon was digested in the stomachs of Yun Luofeng and the rats. When Yun Luofeng put the rats back into the divine grimoire space, he suddenly felt as if there was a force fiercely pounding against his body. "Master, quick, sit down and suppress the power of this water dragon. Otherwise, you might explode and die." Little Mo's anxious voice could be heard. This time, Yun Luofeng had indeed been too impulsive. She wasn't a gold-seeking rat and couldn't directly digest the water dragon's soul. If she didn't handle it properly, the power contained in the soul would explode in her body. Yun Luofeng didn't think any further and hurriedly sat down cross-legged. She couldn't care less about the samsara fire around her. She just wanted to quickly suppress the power in her body. Chapter 1560. Oh no, Bai Zhao's heart sank. Her power couldn't last long. If Yun Luofeng didn't leave, the fire of reincarnation would turn her into ashes in an instant. However, it was too late for her to leave the deep pit, and the soul power in her body would make her explode and die. Hearing Bai Zhao's words, she felt that the fire of reincarnation around Yun Luofeng had begun to stir. After a while, When the green light circle around Yun Luofeng disappeared, the fire of reincarnation rushed up and drowned her in the deep pit. Compared with Bai Xiao and the others who were shocked, Xiao Mo was much calmer, but his big bright eyes were still filled with nervousness and worry. If it were my previous master, she would have been turned into ashes by the fire of reincarnation immediately. But don't forget that the water dragon has lived here for so many years without dying, which proves how powerful his soul power is. So my master, who has devoured the water dragon's soul, won't be annihilated so easily. Xiao Mo clenched his fists tightly, a contemplative look in his eyes. I asked my master to stay here and absorb the water dragon's soul, because the fire of reincarnation will suppress the water dragon's power. If my master can withstand it, her strength will be improved to a higher level. But if she can't, Xiao Mo's heart trembled, and his face became resolute. No, my master will definitely survive. At the foot of the back mountain, the queen hurriedly ran down. Seeing Xian Yuan, who led the guards here, her heart trembled and her face turned pale. Your Majesty, Xian Yuan rushed up aggressively, slapped the queen on the cheek, and angrily shouted, "Who allowed you to step into the back mountain?" The queen bit her lips, her eyes brimming with tears. She covered her face with her hands, and her eyes were full of grief. This was the first time that the king had hit her. It was just because of Yun Luofeng. Fortunately, that woman was dead, and no one would come to steal her man. Thinking of this, the queen lowered her eyes, and there was a gloomy and ferocious look in her eyes. Come on, tie the queen up and send her to the elder's office for punishment. Xian Yuan coldly glanced at the queen, fiercely flicked his sleeves, and turned away. The elder's office. The atmosphere was solemn and stern. The great elder looked at the queen, who was tied up, and slowly asked, "Queen, do you not intend to give this old man an explanation?" The queen bit her lip. "First elder, I was worried about Miss Yun's safety and wanted to stop her. But I couldn't find her, so I came back." Although First Elder would not abolish her position as Empress for Yun Luofeng, but the king would definitely be dissatisfied with her because of this and would not even look at her in the future. Therefore, she could never admit to what she had done. "Queen, even if you didn't do anything wrong, you have to be punished for going to the back of the mountain without permission." The great elder's tone was stern, and his eyes were cold and solemn. "Men, lock up the queen and let her reflect on her mistakes for 3 months. "Yes, Grand Elder." The 2 guards stepped forward and made an inviting gesture to the queen. "Your Majesty, please." The queen smiled miserably, her sorrowful eyes staring at Xian Yuan. Her eyes were filled with sorrow. "Your Majesty, no matter what I did it for you, but you hurt me every time." Xian Yuan paused and looked up at the queen's pitiful eyes. Although he had no feelings for this woman, he felt guilty at this moment. Chapter 1561. Empress, you shouldn't have gone to the back of the mountain. Xian Yuan shook his head and sighed helplessly. "Empress, I know you value Lady Yin very much. That's why I decided to risk my life to persuade her to come back. If I break the rules because of this, I am willing to accept the punishment." After the Empress said this, she did not look at Xian Yuan again. Her expression was like a warrior rushing to the battlefield, determined and without regret. Xian Yuan felt even more apologetic. He originally thought that the Empress suddenly went to the back of the mountain to deal with Yun Luofeng. He did not expect that in the end, he had misunderstood her. Thinking of how angry he was just now, Xian Yuan's face was full of guilt. The woman he loved had been gone for many years. As her sister, the Empress, not only did he not take good care of her, but he also treated her coldly. Therefore, at this moment, Xian Yuan decided that he would definitely change his attitude towards the Empress in the future. There were not many women as kind as her anymore. "Empress," the great elder sighed and said sincerely, "This time, the Empress did break the rules. That's why I punished her. However, you can also see what the Empress has done for you. I hope you will treat her well in the future." "Yes, great elder." Xian Yuan's expression was respectful, but his eyes glanced in the direction the Empress left. After a moment of silence, he ordered, "Servants, I will be staying at the Empress residence today. Arrange it immediately." In the 2 years since he married the Empress, they had always lived separately. Until now, the Empress' actions had changed him. He finally understood that he should cherish the people in front of him and not wait until he lost them to regret. The huge pit was like the mouth of a giant beast. The rolling flames could instantly devour people and annihilate them. At this moment, within the flames, Yin Luofeng sat cross-legged. Her tightly furrowed brows revealed her pain. What was the combination of ice and fire? No one felt it more than Yin Luofeng. The left side of her body was shrouded in flames, while the right side turned into blue water. However, the feeling that this water gave her was not clear, but cold. Yes, it was cold. It was as if the cold of the 12th lunar month made her body shiver. But the left side was like a sea of flames. The intense pain spread through her soul and did not dissipate. Boom! Suddenly, the blue water turned into a water dragon and fought fiercely with the beast formed by the flames in the deep pit. The water dragon and the ferocious beast were equally matched, and the battle was even more intense. Previously, the water dragon's body had been bound by the metal chains, causing it to be unable to unleash its full strength. Only now did Yin Luofeng realize how powerful this water dragon was. If it was still alive, wouldn't it be invincible in the continent? But no matter how strong the water dragon was, it was no match for a beast made of flames. Even if water countered fire, it was still at a disadvantage in the battle. If the fire dragon and water dragon remained in balance within Yin Luofeng's body, then perhaps this crisis would be resolved. Once one side gained the upper hand, the one with the upper hand would defeat the opponent and swallow Yin Luofeng. Other than fire, everyone else, pass your power to me. Yin Luofeng steeled his heart and ordered. The reason why Hua Hua was removed was because Hua Hua was a fire-type spiritual beast. Not only would she not be able to help her, she would even increase the power of the reincarnation flame. Chapter 1562. Yes, Master. In an instant, a powerful force was transmitted from her soul. Yin Luofeng hurriedly gathered all the power and transferred it to the water dragon's body. The water dragon let out an angry roar and its strength rapidly increased. It was originally at a disadvantage, but now it was on par with the beast. Withdraw. Yin Luofeng shouted softly. The water dragon and the beast instantly disappeared and were absorbed into her body. Through her divine sense, she could see that there were two spots of light, one red and one blue, occupying the left and right sides of her soul. These two spots of light were eyeing her like a tiger watching its prey, waiting for the moment the opponent's strength weakened to defeat it in one fell swoop. Perhaps it was because Yin Luofeng had tamed the flaming beast. The surrounding flames quickly retreated to the side, opening up a path for her. Master, I don't know if your encounter this time is a blessing or a curse. Little Mo's voice was filled with helplessness. Although we helped the water dragon just now, we can only help for a while, not forever. If the water dragon is defeated by the reincarnation flame, your soul will immediately turn into ashes. Yin Luofeng pondered for a moment and asked, "What's the solution?" Find a water attribute item that can increase the water dragon's strength. Let them reside in your body at the same time, and they will maintain a state of balance for a period of time. As a human, Yin Luofeng could not digest the water dragon, so she could only use the reincarnation flame to suppress it. Although a part of the water dragon had entered the gold-seeking rat's stomach, that bit of soul did not have much effect on the water dragon. Even so, the water dragon was not a match for the flaming beast. Boom, 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 boom. Suddenly, lightning flashed and thunder roared in the sky. Powerful spiritual energy swarmed into Yin Luofeng's body. Yin Luofeng hurriedly sat down cross-legged, allowing the wind to blow up her hair. Master, congratulations. You can finally break through to the Saint Lord level. On the 7 continents, only the Saint Lord had the right to stand above all living beings and look down on all heroes. At the same time, everyone in the country felt the shocking movement in the back mountain, and their gazes swept towards the back mountain. They saw a whirlpool spiraling in the sky above the back mountain. The whirlpool contained boundless power and a deep pressure that made those with lower strength unable to straighten their bodies. Back mountain. Xian Yuan and the queen were watching intently. Compared with the urgency of the man beside her, the queen's eyes were filled with nervousness and worry. Why did this happen? How could there be someone breaking through in the deserted back mountain? Could it be Yun Luofeng? No, impossible. Yun Luofeng was already dead. The person who had broken through was definitely not her. Just as the queen was filled with anxiety, the sound of footsteps came from behind her. Xian Yuan turned his head and looked at the elders who had rushed over. He said respectfully, "Great elder, you're here?" The great elder's voice was filled with excitement as he stared unblinkingly at the back mountain where the storm was coming from. Even his voice had changed subconsciously. After so many years in our kingdom, there is finally someone who has broken through to the saint realm. It is truly a cause for celebration. I wonder who it is that has broken through. Could there be an expert from our kingdom hidden in the back mountain? This was not impossible. He had placed a ban on the back of the mountain, but that did not mean that there were no living people in the back of the mountain. After all, the ban had been in place for more than a decade. More than a decade ago, there were still people who went to the back mountain. It was just that at that time, he was afraid of the dangers in the back mountain, so he didn't ask people to search for survivors. Chapter 1563. Therefore, someone must be hiding in the back of the mountain and had broken through to become a saint. The reason why they didn't link this to Yun Luofeng was because Yun Luofeng didn't reveal much of his abilities after arriving in this country. What kind of existence was a saint? How could a young lady like her break through to this realm? This was completely impossible. Whoosh! Just at this moment, a sudden powerful force sent chills down everyone's spines. When they looked up, they saw a black figure rushing towards them from the void. When he arrived in front of them, they finally saw the person in the void. This was an extremely handsome man. His cold eyes were as sharp as an eagle's. His hands were behind his back as he stood in the void. He was like a king, high above and looking down on all living beings. In this man's deep and cold eyes, it was as if no one could see their reflection. It was so cold that it pushed people thousands of miles away. The moment the Empress saw this man, her eyes were filled with amazement. She originally thought that the Empress was the most handsome man in the world. Her aura was unparalleled. However, compared to this cold man who looked like a king, Xian Yuan was as insignificant as a speck of dust. If she hadn't fallen in love with the Empress and met this man first, she would have fallen in love with him without hesitation. However, her heart already belonged to Xian Yuan. No matter how outstanding he was, he wouldn't be able to touch her heart. Thinking about this, the Empress subconsciously turned to look at the man next to her and stared at him in a daze. "Who are you?" The great elder's face darkened. This man wasn't from their country. Otherwise, it was impossible that he hadn't seen such a powerful person before. The man didn't say anything. He pursed his cold lips and stared at the place where the storm was coming from. His eyes that were originally filled with coldness were now filled with gentleness. "Are you the person who broke through in the back of the mountain?" The great elder frowned and asked, because ever since this man appeared, the storm of breakthrough had gradually weakened. This proved that the person had already completed his breakthrough. But why was it that this man's eyes made it seem as if there was another person in that place? What puzzled the great elder even more was why such a mysterious man would appear out of nowhere in the back of their country's mountain. "This young master." Xian Yuan frowned. "Who are you, Scram?" The man snorted coldly. His expression was no longer as gentle as before. Instead, it was cold and murderous. His black eyes glanced coldly at Xian Yuan, his face expressionless. "King, he's too impudent." The queen stomped her foot angrily and raised her head to look at the cold man in the void. "This place is our country's territory. An outsider like you has appeared here without even a word of explanation. Aren't you afraid that we'll kill you?" The man's expression was cold, and he directly ignored the queen. Even looking at him was equivalent to insulting her own eyes. The queen's face was flushed with anger. Just as she was about to yell at him, she saw a little head on the man's shoulder. It was a dark green insect with a body as green as jade. It was so beautiful that it made people want to hold it in their hands and play with it. But this insect's eyes seemed to be filled with contempt. That's right, it was contempt. It was as if it was mocking the queen for overestimating herself. "King, look at them." The queen clenched her fists angrily. Even a little bug dared to look down on her. Chapter 1564. Xian Yuan raised his hand to stop the queen as he stared vigilantly at the black-robed man in the sky. He did not know why, but this man gave him a vague sense of danger. It was as if he could destroy an entire country with just a lift of his hand. The man's cold and unfeeling gaze gradually turned into tenderness. He stared fixedly at the empty space in front of him as his cold, stiff lips unwittingly curled into a shallow smile. His smile was very faint, so faint that it was almost invisible. Even so, that faint smile was imprinted in everyone's eyes. It was nothing more than this to be able to captivate all living things. He really did not smile, but when he smiled, he stunned all living things. Everyone looked at the man's gaze, perhaps wanting to know why this cold and unfeeling man had undergone such a huge change. Just as everyone's attention was focused on him, a snow-white dress entered their line of sight. The woman's robes were whiter than snow, and she was extremely beautiful. Her entire body was filled with an awe-inspiring evil aura, but it disappeared when she saw the man standing in the sky. Their eyes met, filled with indescribable tenderness and sweetness. The man opened his arms slightly, and his black robes fluttered in the light breeze. His gaze was serious and warm as he stared at the woman in white not too far away, as if he wanted to carve her figure firmly into his mind. Suddenly, the woman ran wildly towards the man and quickly rushed into his arms. The man held the woman's slender waist tightly as they kissed passionately in the air. 3 years. This separation had been 3 years. During these 3 years, no one would know how he had spent his time. If he had not believed that Yin Luofeng was not dead, then he would definitely not have endured it. The queen's face was already pale with fright. Yin Luofeng was not dead? How was that possible? Furthermore, looking at the situation, Yin Luofeng and that black-robed man were a couple. Then what about all that she had done previously? If she had known that Yin Luofeng already had a lover, why would she have had to deal with her so painstakingly? The queen could not help but bite her lip as her body trembled gently. At this moment, everyone's gaze was on the man and woman in the air who were passionately kissing. Hence, no one noticed the queen's strange behavior. This girl's power seems to have undergone an earth-shattering change. A look of surprise flashed across the great elder's eyes. We've been wrong from the beginning. The person who has broken through here is this girl. In the beginning, the great elder had not been able to clearly see Yin Luofeng's strength. But at that time, had Yin Luofeng not made him feel some fear? However, this woman gave him an unfathomable feeling. Moreover, the aura that was faintly exuding from his body made him feel fearful. What did this mean? It meant that Yin Luofeng had reached the saint realm. I finally meet you. The man's voice was magnetic and hoarse, full of temptation as usual. Yin Xiao, I miss you. Her heartfelt words caused the man's expression to change subtly again. He hugged the woman in front of him tightly and kissed her passionately again. After a long time, he finally let go of the woman in his arms. The corners of his lips curled up slightly. His cold and expressionless face was like melting ice. The woman's figure was deeply reflected in his black eyes. Mistress, I finally meet you. You're even more beautiful than I had imagined. Little Worm, who was lying on Yin Zhao's shoulder, shook his head and spoke to Yin Luofeng in an ingratiating manner. Chapter 1565. What a joke, this was its mistress. If it didn't please her and she threw it away in a fit of anger, who would it cry to? Worm. Yin Luofeng finally noticed the little fellow on the man's shoulder and raised his brows. Little Worm was a little dissatisfied, but it didn't dare to show it. It could only defend itself with all its might. I'm not a worm, I'm a dragon. A dragon. Yin Luofeng stroked his chin and smiled at Little Worm. Yin Xiao, I'm hungry. Her sinister and cunning expression made Little Worm tremble all over. It couldn't help but take a few steps back, its two claws clutching its chest tightly. It didn't taste good. It didn't taste good at all. Master. So, the terrified Little Worm turned to look at Yin Xiao and complained pitifully. Mistress wants to eat your pet. Yin Xiao ignored Little Worm and looked seriously at Yin Luofeng. Do you like steamed or braised? Patter. Little Worm heard the sound of its heart breaking, and its entire body turned to stone, as if it couldn't believe its own ears. Sob, sob. Can Master be so unscrupulous? Mistress wants to eat it, and Master has to give it away? What a pity that it hadn't seen enough of this world before it was tricked by this heartless couple. At this moment, Little Worm had never regretted as much as it did now. If it had another chance, it would rather be sealed for millions of years than leave that place with Yin Xiao. Yin Luofeng smiled. Her smile was very beautiful, so beautiful that it moved one's heart. I think worm meat isn't good for nourishment. I'm a dragon, a dragon. No matter how worried Little Worm was about becoming Yin Luofeng's food, at this moment, for the sake of its dignity as a dragon, it still decided to stand up for its own reputation. Yin Xiao. Has this little fellow come up with a name? Yin Luofeng continued to ask Yin Xiao as if he hadn't heard what it said. No. In Yin Xiao's heart, only Yin Luofeng was worthy of his attention. Asking him to give a worm. No. Give a dragon a name? Not even in his next life. Then, in the future, Yin Luofeng narrowed his eyes. Call it Little Worm. No. Despair appeared in the depths of Little Worm's eyes. It looked at Yin Xiao in agony. Master, I'm your pet. You're so powerful and noble. You can't possibly let your pet have such a retarded name. Otherwise, it would be a disgrace to you. Furthermore, I'm not a worm. I'm a dragon. Yin Xiao glanced at him coldly and turned to Yin Luofeng. All right. At this moment, Little Worm felt like his worldview had been shattered. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. It also understood that Yin Xiao would listen to Yin Luofeng no matter what. Even if Yin Luofeng asked him to jump off a cliff, he would jump down without hesitation. Why? Why did it meet such a lovesick master? It was fine that he was infatuated with love, but why should he be the one suffering? Little Worm wiped away his tears, his eyes filled with despair towards this world. Yin Xiao, why are you here? Yin Luofeng seemed to have thought of something and asked. Yin Xiao answered seriously. I chased the remnants of the Poison Valley here and accidentally stepped into the place where the Little Worm was sealed. Unexpectedly, even I myself was sealed. I spent almost 3 years before I was able to undo this seal and collect the spoil of war along the way. Yin Luofeng was silent for a moment before he raised his head to look at the man's handsome and cold face. Chapter 1566. Logically speaking, we should have been trapped in this place and unable to leave this country. But just now, I've already removed the seal on this country. We can also leave this place. This seal was the water dragon. Now that the water dragon had disappeared, the seal had also been removed. What? Her voice was neither loud nor soft, and it fell right into the crowd. Hearing this, the great elder could not contain his excitement. What did you just say? The seal on our country has been removed? That's right. Yin Luofeng's gaze swept across the crowd. The seal has been removed, but whether you can leave the hidden God Mountain will depend on your own abilities. Also, before we leave, I have one more thing to settle. As she spoke, her gaze slowly fell upon the Empress. An evil smile appeared on her lips, making her look especially sinister. The Empress' face was as white as snow, without any color. When she met the woman's eerie eyes, she retreated a few steps again, her lips trembling slightly. Boom! A wave of spiritual energy swept over and sent the Empress' body flying. With a loud bang, she crashed into the back of the crowd. The crowd was stunned. Perhaps they did not understand why Yin Luofeng would attack the Empress. Empress! The great elder paled in shock. He looked at Yin Luofeng in confusion. Miss Yin, what are you doing? The Empress went to the back of the mountain to find you because she did not want you to take any risks. She wanted to drag you back. Yin Luofeng chuckled. Her slightly raised eyes were filled with dominance and insolence. You did not want me to take any risks. Are you sure? In an instant, everyone's gazes gathered on the Empress once again. Their eyes were filled with suspicion. Could it be that the Empress had done something out of line to Yin Luofeng? I, Yin Luofeng, am able to stand at the peak with my own abilities. Why should I spy on a mere Empress? I don't even care about the throne, much less the Empress. Her voice was extremely arrogant. Like a meteorite, it struck everyone's hearts. However, you thought that I wanted to snatch your position and did not hesitate to push me into the abyss. If not for my better luck, I'm afraid I would have been annihilated in the abyss. Xian Yuan's body froze. He slowly turned his head, his gray eyes filled with anger and disbelief. Queen, can you give me an explanation? No, it's not like that. She's lying. King, you have to believe me. I love you so much. How could I do such a thing that harms others and myself? The queen knelt and crawled toward Xian Yuan. She hugged his legs tightly and wept as she said. Xian Yuan closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes were filled with pain. Why are you still lying at a time like this? Miss Yin has no enmity with you, so why would she frame you? The queen fell silent. If Yin Xiao had not appeared, she would have definitely accused Yin Luofeng of wanting to frame him because he had taken a fancy to Xian Yuan. Now, this black-robed man was so outstanding. How could the other party give up on such an outstanding man to steal Xian Yuan? Seeing that the queen did not speak, Xian Yuan sneered and used his hands to push her arms away from his legs. His eyes were filled with disappointment. He had thought that the queen was kind-hearted and had given up everything for him. That was why he had taken care of her during this period of time. But who knew that in the end, he was actually deceived by her? Chapter 1567. The queen took 2 steps back and smiled pitifully. Tears flowed down from the corners of her eyes as she spoke in a self-deprecating manner. Queen, you, me, and my sister, the 3 of us grew up together. From then on, I fell in love with you, but you only had eyes for my sister. My looks were not as good as hers, nor was my strength. After you became queen, the elders decided to make her the empress. Do you know how jealous I was at that time? Xian Yuan looked at the queen coldly. So, you murdered her? The queen's expression froze and panic flashed across her eyes. Seeing her expression suddenly change, the anger in Xian Yuan's heart began to burn. Did you really murder her? Actually, Xian Yuan was just testing the queen. If it was in the past, he would never have suspected the queen. Now that the queen's true colors had been exposed, he began to have doubts, but the queen's expression had proven everything. Boom! Xian Yuan was furious. He grabbed the queen's neck with all his might. His eyes were bloodshot as he roared angrily. She's your sister. Both of you grew up without parents. She was the one who raised you. How could you bear to kill her? The queen's throat was choked by his large hand. She could not speak. Her face was red and filled with despair. She did not regret killing her sister. In order to become queen, she would rather kill everyone in the world than let anyone snatch him from her. However, what the queen had done to her had chilled her. The elders stood at the side and did not stop the queen. The queen had made a huge mistake and should be punished. Furthermore, they also understood that the queen would not really kill the queen. At most, he would cripple her. In their country, there was no precedent of the death penalty. As expected, after venting his anger, the queen let go of his hand. His palm was still trembling, and his eyes were filled with hatred. Men, drag the queen away. Cripple her strength, and expel her from the country. Yes, queen. Just as the 2 guards were about to step forward, a powerful force suddenly swooped down from the void and pierced through the queen's body. The queen's body froze. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Blood spread from her chest. She trembled and her body fell. Queen! Everyone was shocked and looked up at the black-robed man standing in the void. The man's black robes fluttered gently in the breeze. His right hand gently embraced the white-robed woman next to him. His paralyzed face remained expressionless, and his expression was incomparably cold. Young master, Great Elder's expression was a little ugly. The queen has made a mistake. and we have decided to punish her. But isn't killing a little too much?" The man lowered his eyes and looked down at the crowd below him. His cold eyes were filled with arrogance, and a murderous aura emanated from him, causing everyone to shudder. "Your kingdom's destined queen was killed, and you didn't avenge her. Even the man who loved her deeply didn't punish the murderer for her." The man's voice was as cold and deep as ever. "But if anyone touches a hair on my wife, I'll make them bleed on the spot." So what if they killed people? For her, he could slaughter the entire world, let alone a mere woman. Xian Yuan's body stiffened. He sighed softly, and a bitter smile appeared on his handsome face. Chapter 1568. If he had this man's boldness, would the woman he loved not have died so early? "Yin Xiao, let's go." Yin Luofeng smiled and looked at the man's side profile. Her voice was lazy. "All right." Yin Xiao smiled at him. His arm wrapped around the woman's waist. He took a step, and they were already 30 meters away. "Wait a minute." Great Elder was anxious. However, before he could say anything, the two of them had already disappeared. "Great Elder, this time, we can finally leave this damned place." Everyone's heart was filled with joy. Only Great Elder's face was filled with worry. The ancestor left a message. "The person who can break the restriction is the person sent by the gods to us. Now that she has left, what should we do?" Great Elder didn't know that the intention of the ancestor's message was to leave behind hope for the future generations. But the ancestor himself didn't expect that after so many years, a woman named Yin Luofeng would appear and break the restriction for this country, Hidden God Mountain. The grass was flourishing. A powerful aura spread throughout the entire mountain range. If it was someone with lower strength, they might immediately turn and flee in fright from this powerful aura. Needless to say, Yin Luofeng's luck was rather good. When she first came to Hidden God Mountain, she encountered the cave group. Now that she was planning to leave, she once again encountered a group of skeletons. Looking at the skeletons that were waving their bone clubs and rushing over, Yun Xiao expressionlessly ordered the little worm that was dozing off on his shoulder, "Finish the battle quickly." "Oh." The little worm responded and was planning to fight the skeletons. But at this moment, Yin Luofeng stopped it. "These skeletons have a grudge against me." Yin Luofeng's lips curled into a sinister smile. "So let me deal with them." She wouldn't forget that when she stepped into Hidden God Mountain, she was chased by this group of skeletons. Now that she had finally broken through to the Saint Realm, she must personally take revenge. Hua! When she finished speaking, Yin Luofeng had already rushed into the group of skeletons. She, who had once been chased by the skeletons, finally had the strength to deal with them at this moment. Even so, because these skeletons were indestructible and didn't know pain, even if Yin Luofeng broke through to the Saint Monarch realm, it would still be difficult for him to destroy this undying battle team. "This won't do. If this goes on, I won't be able to hold on." Yin Luofeng raised his hand and took out a stalk of spirit medicine. He didn't chew it carefully before swallowing it. The physical strength and spirit power that he had originally consumed were gradually recovering. Not far away, Yin Xiao watched Yin Luofeng's battle with a calm expression, but he had already made his preparations. If Yin Luofeng couldn't defeat these skeletons, he would make a move. "Little Mo, do you know why these dead people became the skeleton battle team?" Yin Luofeng wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and asked with his soul. Little Mo's voice came from his soul. "I don't know the specifics, but did you see the green willow, the wisps in each skeleton's eyes? These the wisps are souls, but they're not the skeleton's souls." "Not the skeleton's souls?" Yin Luofeng's eyes flickered. She seemed to have understood something and hurriedly closed her eyes. The surrounding noise instantly dissipated, and it was as if she was the only one in the entire world. Chapter 1569. Suddenly, she opened her eyes, and a powerful force suddenly erupted when the skeletons had arrived in front of her. After that, countless dark green spirit flames floated into the eyes of the skeletons. At this moment, the skeletons had already stopped moving. In their eye sockets, two dark green flames were fighting endlessly. Everyone wanted to take control. Yin Luofeng did not relax. She had split her own spiritual power, and only her own spiritual power could control these skeletons. Of course, if Yun Luofeng had not swallowed the water dragon spirit and caused her own soul to grow, she would never have used such a risky method to control the skeletons. Finally, Yun Luofeng's spirit flames took control and swallowed the opponent's spirit flames. Her body softened, and the moment she fell into a warm embrace. Yin Xiao hugged the woman in his arms tightly as a sense of heartache flashed across his black eyes. Yin Xiao, I'm fine. Yun Luofeng curled the corners of her lips. She knew what Yin Xiao wanted to say, so before he could speak, she said, "My soul can gradually recover. You don't have to worry. Besides, I don't want to rely on you for everything. I want to walk side by side with you." Honestly, she could have asked Yin Xiao to help her subdue these puppets from the very beginning. But with Yin Xiao's power, he would only be able to destroy these puppets. Since that was the case, she might as well make them her own and use them to increase her power. At the same time, in the depths of the hidden God Mountain, a woman who was sitting cross-legged suddenly opened her eyes. With a puff, she spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale, and her beautiful eyes were filled with anger. Who was it? Who swallowed my spirit flames? And who took away my skeleton battle team? If I find out who did this, I will not let them off. She gritted her teeth as she spat out the last few words. Her own spirit flames had been swallowed, and she would need to recuperate for a long time before she could recover. How could she forgive the person who had swallowed her spirit flames? Yin Luofeng did not know what had happened in the depths of the hidden God Mountain. After subduing the skeletons, she had followed Yin Xiao and left the hidden God Mountain. But she could sense that Mo Qiansheng, who was in the Shaman Demon Tribe's formation, was beginning to stir, and he seemed to be about to leave the formation. This feeling caused Yin Luofeng's heart to tremble. Mo Qiansheng loved Zhu Qian deeply. In order to save Ji Jiutian and himself, she had impersonated Zhu Qian. If Mo Qiansheng were to leave the array and find out about Yun Zhao's existence, he would definitely go crazy. However, Mo Qiansheng was the center of the formation. Logically speaking, he shouldn't be able to leave the formation. So why was he so restless now? Yun Luofeng's heart gradually sank. She had to quickly increase her strength to deal with the upcoming problems. Furthermore, she must not let Mo Qiansheng hurt Yun Xiao in the slightest. "Master," little Mo's voice trembled when he noticed this. "Now that the situation is pressing, I must raise my strength to the level where I can fight against Mo Qiansheng in the remaining time." Yin Luofeng clenched her fists, her beautiful face full of determination. Yun Zhao's sword-like brows gently knitted together as his black eyes turned towards Yin Luofeng and asked, "What happened?" Yin Luofeng was stunned. She regained her composure and stared deeply at the man in front of her. Her tone was firm. "Yin Xiao, I will never let you leave me." Chapter 1570. This should be the place. Not long after Yin Luofeng left, a man and a woman slowly descended from the sky, their gazes fixed on the hidden God Mountain before them. Among the two, the woman in red was beautiful and valiant, her features somewhat similar to Yun Zhao's. The man was as gentle as jade, his affectionate eyes filled with worry at this moment, but he did not forget to comfort the woman beside him. "Jun Feng will definitely be fine. Let's go find her now." Jun Fengling's eyes narrowed slightly, a dangerous glint flashing across them. "I hope so. If I find out who hurt my daughter-in-law, I will grind her to ashes." Yi Jingqin's gaze turned to Jun Fengling, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. "Let's go, Jun." Just as they were about to step into the hidden God Mountain, an old voice suddenly came from the side, filled with sorrow and sorrow. "Back then, I should have stopped that girl from stepping into the hidden God Mountain. I wonder if she's really in danger." Grandpa Jun's face was filled with a bitter smile, his voice filled with helplessness. Jun Fengling subconsciously looked at Grandpa Jun. When she saw the old man's wrinkled face, she couldn't help but frown. She did not know why, but this old man gave her a vague sense of familiarity. This feeling made her want to befriend him. Yi Jingchen clearly saw through his wife's thoughts. He raised his hand and patted her shoulder, then slowly walked towards Grandpa Jun and cupped his fists. Elder, are you also here to look for someone? Grandpa Jun's gaze fell on Yi Jingchen, his voice aged. That's right. May I know who you are looking for, Elder? My granddaughter. Granddaughter? Yi Jingchen was stunned, a little disappointed. Yin Luofeng had met with danger in the Hidden God Mountain, and now this old man was also here to look for someone. He had originally thought that they would coincidentally be looking for the same person. He did not expect that this old man was looking for his granddaughter. Feng Er's grandfather was Yin Luo, so this old man was obviously not here for Feng. A brother Yi. Jun Fengling walked to Yi Jingchen's side and smiled at Grandpa Jun Sr. If you don't mind, why don't we travel together? If Yi Jingchen were to invite him, Grandpa Sheng would definitely reject him. But when he saw the woman in front of him, he fell into a trance. If his daughter was here, she would probably be the same age as the woman in front of him. However, his daughter was still in the Wuhui continent, so it was impossible for her to appear here. All right, the old man would never accept any stranger trying to get close to him, but he could not bring himself to dislike the woman in red in front of him. Subconsciously, he wanted to get close to her. Cough, cough. When Yi Jingchen saw Grandpa Jun staring at his wife, he couldn't help but cough dryly. His handsome face looked a little unsightly. Grandpa Jun regained his composure, his expression somewhat awkward. His expression just now could easily be misunderstood as that of a lecher, but he couldn't help but want to watch her. It was not until many days later that Jun Fengling and Grandpa Jun finally understood what it meant to be fated. Willow Town. The market was extremely noisy, and the vendors' shouts rose and fell. From afar, Yin Luofeng saw a familiar figure, and his eyes flashed with surprise. Chapter 1571. Huang Yingying? Why was she here? At that moment, Huang Yingying seemed to have sensed someone looking at her. She raised her head and looked in that direction. In that instant, she was completely stunned as she stared at Yin Luofeng. Huang Yingying. When Yin Luofeng spoke those three names, Huang Yingying's body suddenly trembled. She hurriedly covered her trembling lips to prevent herself from screaming out loud. Miss Yin, she had finally seen her? Suddenly, Huang Yingying's light yellow dress streaked across the sky and stood in front of Yin Luofeng. She stared at the woman in white in front of her and asked word by word, Are you really Miss Yin? Was she dreaming? Huang Yingying, why are you here? Compared to 3 years ago, the woman's voice was even more mature and steady. The only thing that didn't change was her demonic tone. Miss Yin, Huang Yingying smiled. Her ice-cold face, like a melting ice cube, was filled with warmth at this moment. When I heard that you were still alive, I went to the Jun family to find you. Who knew that I was one step too late and you had already left? In order to find you, I chased you all the way to this place. Who would have thought that we would meet here? In reality, Yin Luofeng didn't have much feelings for Huang Yingying. She had helped her because they had a common enemy. It wasn't because of Huang Yingying, but now it seemed that Huang Yingying hadn't had a good time during the 3 years he had been missing. The girl who had been as graceful as an oriole had unknowingly been covered with coldness. Looking at Huang Yingying's blossoming smile, Yin Luofeng's heart was moved. It was an unintentional help, but it had helped her obtain a person who had given her his true heart, Miss Yingying. Suddenly, an anxious voice came from behind Huang Yingying. At that moment, Yin Luofeng could clearly feel Huang Yingying's body stiffen. When Yin Luofeng looked up, he saw a man dressed in luxurious clothes appear next to Huang Yingying. His face was full of joy. I thought I was seeing things. I didn't think that it was really you. Young Master Ling Shuang, please conduct yourself with dignity. Huang Yingying frowned slightly when she saw the luxurious man raising his hand to pull Huang Yingying's arm. She instinctively dodged and said coldly. The man's body shook and his eyes were filled with sorrow. Yingying, it's only been 3 years. Why have you changed? Huang Yingying sneered and glanced coldly at the man's handsome face. 3 years ago, your father came looking for me and warned me not to get close to you. Now, it's me who looks down on you. Yin Luofeng narrowed his eyes slightly. It seemed that after Huang Yingying left the sorcerer demon tribe 3 years ago, she did not follow Hong Wan. Instead, something happened between her and the young master of the North Continent Prefecture. If he wasn't wrong, this man called Ling Shuang was Hong Wan's ex-fiancé's younger brother. Ling Shuang clenched his fists tightly. His face was filled with pain. He did not understand. How could this beautiful girl become so cold? Miss Yun. Huang Yingying ignored Ling Shuang and turned to smile at Yun Luofeng. Don't worry about him. Let's go. Yun Luofeng nodded slightly. Later, tell me what happened between you and the North Continent Prefecture. Huang Yingying's body was a little stiff, as if recalling those unbearable memories. Her face was a little pained. Okay. Chapter 1572. In the inn. It was simple and clean. Huang Yingying poured a cup of tea for Yun Luofeng before sitting in front of her. 3 years ago, the leader of the Sorcerer Demon tribe asked me to use the Sorcerer Demon flower to save Lady Hong Wan, so I left the Sorcerer Demon tribe. Moreover, after Lady Hong Wan woke up, I wanted to train by myself. It was also during my training that I met Ling Shuang. Huang Yingying's smile was bitter. Ling Shuang doesn't have the arrogant temperament of a typical young master. His personality is very gentle, and he takes care of me everywhere. I have never experienced love before, so I fell into it, but after the Continent Lord found out about us, he came to find me and ordered me to leave Ling Shuang. Yin Luofeng took a sip of tea and raised his eyebrows slightly. He did not know that you were the holy virgin of the witch demon tribe. Huang Yingying shook her head. I did not tell Ling Shuang my identity. When the Continent Lord came to find me, the two people that the leader sent to protect me wanted to stand up for me, but I stopped them. The Continent Lord's residence of the North Continent is so powerful, so why should I stick to him? If he wants to find someone of equal status for Ling Shuang, then let him find one. I no longer care about the position of the young madam of the Continent Lord residence. The Continent Lord's residence of the North Continent was the power that dominated the North Continent. However, the witch demon tribe came from the highly ranked Central Continent. Furthermore, the power of the witch demon tribe could even be compared to the Continent Lord's residence of the Central Continent. If there had not been a traitor in the witch demon tribe back then, with the strength of the leader of the witch demon tribe, even if all the powerful cultivators of the Poison Valley came, he could destroy them without even taking a breath. One could imagine how powerful the witch demon tribe was in the Central Continent. It could be said that as long as the Central Continent existed, the legacy of the witch demon tribe would also be as long as it existed. If not for the changes that happened in the tribe many years ago, perhaps the witch demon tribe would have become a power that surpassed all the continents. How did Ling Shuang treat you? Yin Luofeng thought for a while and asked. Huang Yingying's body trembled, and she lowered her eyes slightly. Ling Shuang treated me very well, but he was not firm enough. If Ling Shuang could be more resolute, perhaps their ending would not be like this. His father found a fiancée for him. He didn't accept it, but he didn't reject it either. He just told me to wait. Huang Yingying laughed bitterly. He said that one day, his father would accept us. But in the end, what I got was a warning from his father. After saying this, Huang Yingying looked up at Yin Luofeng and bit her lip. Back then, I returned to the shaman demon tribe in tears. When I learned of your death, the tribe chief lied to me. He said that if I completed the inheritance, you would return. 3 years ago, when she heard the news of Yun Luofeng's death, she almost broke down. Coupled with the heartbreak, she wanted to give up on herself. However, the clan leader's words gave her confidence and hope. Huang Yingying's heart was filled with guilt. The clan leader had done this for her sake. She really shouldn't have been so cruel to him. Yun Luofeng stroked her chin. She had almost forgotten about the North Continent Prefecture. By the way, Miss Yun, I heard that you went to the hidden God Mountain to find the Ghost Emperor. Did you find him? Yin Luofeng raised his eyes slightly and said with a smile, because I recently lacked medicinal herbs, so he just went to the medicine shop to buy them. I was originally waiting for him at the market, but who knew that I would meet you? Whether it was the small tree or the gold-seeking rat, they both used medicinal herbs as nutrients. Now, there was another pet that used medicinal herbs as food. Little Worm. Chapter 1573. Miss Yin, Huang Yingying smiled faintly. Her eyes and brows were curved and looked extremely beautiful. What are your plans after this? Plans? Yun Luofeng paused for a moment before a cold light flashed across her eyes. My top priority right now is to increase my power. She would not only have to face the Sacred Lady clan, but also Mo Qiansheng, who was eyeing her covetously. Besides, her lies could fool Mo Qiansheng for a while, but they could not fool him forever. He would eventually see through them. That's right. Huang Yingying suddenly remembered something. I remembered that Hong Wan had gone to the Beast Continent, and there was no news of her after that. When news of your survival had spread, the people of the East Continent wanted to find Hong Wan. However, they had searched the entire Beast Continent and could not find any trace of Hong Wan. Just then, the room door was pushed open. Yun Luofeng turned around, and when she saw the black-robed man slowly walking in, the corners of her lips curled into a wicked smile. Yun Xiao, have you finished your business? Yun Xiao paused and asked, You want to go to the Beast Continent? Hong Wan's whereabouts were unknown in the Beast Continent. Based on Yun Luofeng's character, she would certainly head to the Beast Continent. Yes. Yun Luofeng's eyes were pitch black. I want to find Hong Wan. All right, I'll go with you. Yun Xiao gently raised the corners of her lips. Besides, I have some forces in the Beast Continent. This time, I'll take this opportunity to hand those people over to you. Ever since Yun Luofeng had arrived on the 7 continents, she had not seen the forces that Yun Xiao had established. Since she had decided to scout the way for Yun Luofeng, she could not possibly leave empty-handed. Now, Yun Luofeng finally found out that Yun Xiao's forces were all in the Beast Continent. Yun Xiao, when you were being hunted down, why did you not use the forces in your hands? Hearing this, the man fell silent. After a long pause, he replied honestly, I had prepared those people for you. I would not allow any casualties. Besides, I don't think that the people who were hunting me could really hurt me. This sentence was domineering and awe-inspiring. The man's expressionless face was cold and murderous. A storm seemed to be brewing in his dark eyes. I know the way to the Beast Continent. Huang Yingying bit her lips. To get to the Beast Continent, we need to pass through the Northern Continent. When we reach the Beast Continent, we will come across a desert. Once we cross the desert, we will be able to reach the Beast Continent. The North Continent. Huang Yingying's heart still trembled when she said those 2 words. Return to the Sorcerer Demon Tribe. Yun Luofeng turned to look at Huang Yingying and said calmly, The leader of the Sorcerer Demon Tribe should be looking for you. Moreover, Yun Zhao's power was in the Beast Continent, so he would definitely be very familiar with the route to the Beast Continent. No, Huang Yingying shook her head and said, I plan to accept the Sorcerer Tribe to help you. Before I find Miss Hong Wan, I won't go back. After saying this, Huang Yingying lifted her skirt and walked in front of Yun Luofeng. She half knelt on the ground, her expression respectful and firm. Miss Yun, please allow me to follow you. I will never turn my back on you for the rest of my life. Yun Luofeng lowered his eyes and stared at the young girl's determined expression. Suddenly, she laughed. If you follow me, you will have to endure many dangers and hardships. Perhaps you might not even be able to hold on to your life in the next moment. If that's the case, do you still want to follow me? Huang Yingying smiled bitterly. My loved ones have been murdered. If it wasn't for the sake of revenge, I would have followed them long ago. Now that I have my revenge, even if I lose my life, I have no regrets. Chapter 1574. All right, that's your choice. I'll keep you by my side from now on. Yun Luofeng raised his hand and helped Huang Yingying up. His voice was evil and calm. Huang Yingying was delighted. To be honest, she was already prepared to be rejected. Who knew that Yun Luofeng would actually accept? Miss, to get to the Beast Continent, we have to go through the Northern Continent. I'm worried that the people in the Northern Continent might not let us pass. Every city gate in the Northern Continent was guarded. If they wanted to pass through the Northern Continent, they had to go through the city gates. If the Northern Continent was not willing to let them pass, they would have to use force. Otherwise, they would not be able to get to the Beast Continent. Why is the Northern Continent not willing to let us pass? Even if she had enmity with Ling Qian from the northern continent, he couldn't have posted her portrait at the city gates just to prevent them from passing. The Ghost Emperor should know about this. The Beast Continent is different from the other continents. In the Beast Continent, most of the people are spiritual beasts. There are very few humans. Moreover, the Beast Clan likes to attack humans. As such, the relationship between the other continents and the Beast Continent is not good. However, the Beast Continent is the most powerful of all the continents, a territory established by spiritual beasts to be able to stand firm against so many humans. One could imagine the power of the Beast Continent. As such, the city gate between the Beast Continent and the Beast Continent is heavily guarded. The humans in the Beast Continent can come out, but they will not let any humans in. I don't think that the people in the northern continent would be so kind as to prevent humans from going to the Beast Continent. Yin Luo Feng asked slowly. Huang Yingying shook her head helplessly. Miss, humans are greedy. The spiritual beasts in the Beast Continent are all very powerful. Most of the spiritual beasts have already swallowed the man transformation fruit and turned into humans. To humans, this is a treasure that they can only dream of. As such, for many years, humans have always wanted to enter the Beast Continent and form contracts with the spiritual beasts to fight for them. At this point, Huang Yingying's voice became cautious. However, in the end, those humans instead submitted to the spiritual beasts, allowing the Beast Continent to become more and more powerful. Yin Luo Feng raised an eyebrow. Why? This? Huang Yingying pursed her lips. It said that those spiritual beasts that transform into humans are all extremely beautiful, and they're even more beautiful than humans. There's also the Fox clan that's skilled in seductive arts that bewitches those men until they're willing to abandon their humanity and become their spiritual beast slaves. In order to prevent the number of strong warriors in the continent from decreasing, all the continents unanimously decided to forbid any strong warriors from entering the Beast Continent. Hence, the Beast Continent became a place where one could only leave but not enter. But any strong martial artist who left the Beast Continent would be monitored by the major powers to ensure that they would not be brainwashed by the Beast Clan. As for those weak humans who wanted to leave the Beast Continent, as soon as he left, he was secretly killed by the experts of the North Continent. How did you enter the Beast Continent at that time? Yin Luo Feng raised his eyebrows and looked at Yun Xiao as he asked with a smile that was not a smile. The place that the wormhole reaches is the Beast Continent. What about the people who were monitoring you after you left the Beast Continent? Dead. Yin Xiao's words were simple and shocking. Yin Luo Feng stroked his chin with his finger. I don't know how Hongwan managed to enter the Beast Continent, but I know that I must enter the Beast Continent. Yin Xiao, Huang Yingying, let's set off today. The earlier we go, the less danger Hongwan will encounter. Chapter 1575. On the street. It was as noisy as before. Yin Luo Feng and the others had just stepped out of the inn when they met the haunting Ling Xuan. He stared straight at Huang Yingying with undisguised adoration. Yingying, don't throw a tantrum. Come back with me. Father has already promised me that he won't stop us. Huang Yingying laughed coldly. Do you think I will believe you? How could such a snobbish person accept me? Yingying, it doesn't matter if my father accepts you or not. As long as you come back with me, I will marry you. Ling Xuan's gaze was urgent. He stepped forward to pull Huang Yingying. Huang Yingying moved to the side and dodged his hand. Her lips curled into a cold smile. Why should I believe a man without courage like you? After saying this, Huang Yingying did not look at Ling Xuan again. She stood respectfully behind Yin Luo Feng. Miss, we don't have to care about him. We can continue. Miss. Ling Xuan's eyes were filled with shock. He looked at Yin Luo Feng in astonishment. His expression did not look too good. Yingying, your servant? Huang Yingying was just a servant? Impossible. Based on Huang Yingying's temperament, how could she be someone else's servant? Even if she was just a young lady, her father might not stop her. Why was she just a servant? Huang Yingying's gaze changed from disappointment to disgust. As expected, the people of the North Continent Prefecture were all so powerful. Why did she have to keep thinking about him? Miss, Ling Shuang's eyes flashed a few times, and she slowly walked in front of Yin Luofeng. She cupped her fists and said, I know you are Ying Ying's master. I wonder if you are willing to help me with something? I want you to accept Ying Ying as your sworn sister. This way, I can persuade my father. He did not know Yin Luofeng's identity, but looking at her temperament, even if she was not the young lady of a first-rate family, she would be at least second-rate. Even if this identity was not compatible with the North Continent prefecture, at least there was a glimmer of hope. Yun Zhao's cold eyes gradually turned towards Ling Shuang, his eyes filled with a strong, murderous intent. This aura made Ling Shuang's body tremble. However, in order to marry Huang Yingying, he still looked at Yin Luofeng with determination. Yin Luofeng laughed. Why should I help you? Miss, you're not helping me. You're helping yourself. Ling Shuang's expression was a little unhappy. If I marry Yingying, she'll be the young madam of the North Continent's continent master's mansion. Your status will rise as well. This is a very worthwhile deal. If it wasn't for Yingying, he definitely wouldn't say a word to this blind woman. North Continent Prefecture. Yun Luofeng tilted his head, his evil eyes revealing a hint of a smile. That's right. Ling Shuang held his head high and puffed out his chest. I'm the young master of the North Continent Prefecture. At this moment, Ling Shuang was waiting for Yun Luofeng's shock and fawning. If anyone else had the opportunity to see someone from the Continent Lord's mansion, they would immediately kneel down and hug their thighs without exception. But facing the arrogant Ling Shuang, the evil smile on Yun Luofeng's lips became even more pronounced. I only know that there is a Ling Chun in the North Continent Prefecture. This Ling Chun betrayed Hong Luan and wanted to pester her endlessly. In the end, he suffered retribution. Ling Shuang's body stiffened. He raised his head in shock, his startled gaze landing on Yin Luofeng. This woman knew Hong Luan? Even Huang Yingying, who was standing at the side, was stunned. Chapter 1576. She had stayed in the Northern Continent for so long, but did not know that Hong Luan and Ling Chun had such a relationship. In reality, Ling Chun had lost all face in the Eastern Continent, so how could he continue to be a topic of conversation? As such, he had ordered for all news to be sealed, so that Huang Yingying would not know about the relationship between the two of them. Wait. Seeing that Yin Luofeng and the others were about to leave, Ling Shuang became anxious and subconsciously raised his head to grab Yin Luofeng's arm. At this moment, the grim-faced man in black glanced at him coldly and spat out a word from his thin lips. Scram! Puchi! Ling Shuang's body flew out and landed in the inn. He coughed up a mouthful of blood, and his handsome face was pale. He wanted to stand up, but felt as if his body was being crushed by a mountain, and could only watch as Yin Luofeng and the others left. Northern Continent. Continent Lord's Mansion. Ling Chun furiously swept the tea on the table to the ground, and angrily yelled, Scram! All of you scram! The servants were so scared that they did not even dare to say a word, and hurriedly left. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps could be heard. Ling Chun was about to explode again, but after seeing the man who had stepped into the room, he swallowed his words, and his face was still ashen. Umph! Didn't you go to find your beloved woman? What? You return home? Ling Shuang tightly clenched his fists. Big brother, do you know a woman in white? Woman in white? At that moment, a beautiful face appeared in Ling Chen's mind. It was the same face that made him grit his teeth in hatred. Why do you ask? When I went to find Yingying, I found out that she was only a servant, and her master seemed to be related to Hong Luan. Hong Luan? Ling Chun suddenly raised his head and stared at the handsome man standing in front of him. Yin Luofeng, is it really that damned woman? Ling Shuang looked down. Big brother, do you know who Yin Luofeng is? He's just an insignificant person. He only dared to act like a tyrant because he caught Hong Luan's eye. Ling Chun fiercely gritted his teeth, his eyes filled with viciousness. Ling Shuang was disappointed. He sighed. I originally thought that she should be a young miss of an aristocratic family, so I planned to force her to acknowledge Yingying as her younger sister and help Yingying get rid of her status as a slave. Unfortunately, her status is very low. So how could she help Ying? Ling Chun fell silent. After a while, a vicious look flashed in his eyes. If you want to marry Huang Ying, it's very simple. I have a way. The prerequisite is that you help me kill that woman, Yin Luo Feng. Ling Shuang was a little surprised. Help you? How can I help you? Humph, don't think that I don't know that when my body became ill, my father had gradually handed over the power of the Continent Lord's mansion to you. Now that my father is not in the Continent Lord's mansion, you have the right to mobilize the masters in the mansion. I want you to send those people to kill her. Ling Xuan's expression was extremely awkward. Big brother, father is also, you don't have to explain to me. It doesn't matter if I don't become the young master of the North Continent. What I want to do is to kill Yin Luo Feng. Ling Chen's fingers dug into his flesh, causing blood to flow out. However, he did not feel anything. After you help me, I'll give you an idea. This idea can make father agree to you too. Ling Xuang thought for a moment, then nodded in agreement. All right, big brother, I'll do as you say. Chapter 1577. At this moment, on the streets of the Northern Continent, a beautiful scene unwittingly attracted everyone's attention. A man and a woman were walking in the middle of the street. The woman's clothes were whiter than snow, and her beauty could topple cities. Her face was slightly demonic, and her pitch-black eyes seemed to glow. The man standing beside her was handsome and cold. His black clothes were like a hawk in the night, dangerous and sharp. Logically speaking, Huang Ying could be considered a rare beauty, but standing behind these two people, she seemed to be overshadowed. Stop! At the city gate, the two guards immediately blocked their path when they saw the group of people walking towards them. The road to the Beast Continent is in front. Without the orders of the Continent Lord, no one is allowed to pass. The guards' expressions were cold, and they were as unmoving as a mountain. Yin Xiao. Yin Luo Feng raised his eyebrows and looked at Yin Xiao with a smile. Leave these people to me. How about it? All right. Boom. As soon as Yin Xiao spoke, the ground beside Yin Luo Feng trembled. Shortly after, a tattered puppet appeared beside Yin Luo Feng. Yin Yi, kill anyone who dares to stop us. Kill without mercy. These three words were domineering and incomparably arrogant. Yun expressionlessly charged towards the two guards. With a boom, his fist punched out, and the guards at the city gate were immediately sent flying, their bodies heavily smashing against the city gate. Who is so bold as to come to our northern continent to cause trouble? Boom! Suddenly, a powerful force descended from the void. Not long after, an elder tore through the void and quickly arrived, standing in front of Yin Luo Feng. At the same time, the sound of footsteps came from behind. Shortly after, an army surrounded Yin Luo Feng and the others. Yin Luo Feng, you've really worn out iron shoes in fruitless search, only to find it by chance. I never thought that you would dare to come to our northern continent's territory. Huh? Arrogant and sinister laughter fell into Yin Luofeng's ears like leaves blown by the wind. The army spread out, and in that instant, Ling Chun and Ling Xuang walked out from behind the army, arrogantly walking in front of Yin Luo Feng and the others. Ling Xuang immediately saw Huang Ying standing behind Yin Luo Feng and hurriedly said, Ying, hurry and come to my side. I will protect you from harm. Faced with Ling Xuang's urgency, Huang Ying sneered, and a mocking smile appeared on her lips. She simply turned her head and no longer looked at Ling Xuang. Ling Xuang was both angry and anxious. She really did not understand why Huang Ying was so stubborn. She would rather be a servant than be the young madam of the Continent Lord's manor. Everyone, Ling Chun turned to look at the crowd, a sinister light in his eyes. This girl called Huang Ying was ordered by someone to seduce my little brother and steal the treasures of the Continent Lord's residence. Very few people knew about Ling Chen's experiences in the Eastern Continent, so in the eyes of most people, Ling Chun still had a good character. Hearing Ling Chen's words, everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Such a beautiful little girl was actually a thief, and she even risked her life to come to the Continent Lord's residence to steal? Big brother, what do you mean by that? Ling Shuang's expression completely changed. That's clearly not what you promised me before. Ling Chen curled his lips. Second brother, I'm doing this for your own good. I don't want you to sink into depravity because of a little servant girl. Moreover, these elders here also don't want you to make such a mistake. Chapter 1578. Even though the Continent Lord had passed power to Ling Shuang, as the future mistress of the Continent Lord's residence, how could a servant girl take on the role? As such, facing Ling Shuang's pleading gaze, the elders acted as if they did not see it. Such a daring thief deserves to die. The gray-robed elder coldly snorted, looking down at Yun Luo Feng and the others. Plus, you dared to attack someone from the northern continent, so you deserve to die. Elder. Ling Shuang's lips were pale, his body trembled, and his face was filled with pain. He regretted it. He regretted trusting Ling Chun and summoning the clan's elders, who knew that Ling Chun would not even let Ying off. Second brother, Ling Chun sighed and walked to Ling Shuang's side, patting him on the shoulder. I'll tell you the truth. Everything I've said is backed up by evidence. Huang Ying really did steal from the Northern Continent Palace. Otherwise, why do you think father wouldn't allow you two to be together? Ling Shuang shook his head. Impossible. Ying is not that kind of person. Hearing this, Ling Chun subconsciously looked at the gray-robed elder. This gray-robed elder had the most authority in the Northern Continent Prefecture, so his words were more trustworthy. Young master is right. Huang Ying did indeed steal from the Northern Continent Prefecture. The great elder's voice was hoarse as he slowly spoke. Ling Shuang would be the person in charge of the Northern Continent Prefecture. As such, in order to avoid future revenge, they could only slander Huang Ying. Huang Ying was dumbfounded. Her eyes widened in shock, as if she did not expect these people to frame her. Ying, tell me, is what they said true? Ling Shuang looked at Huang Ying in pain and asked with a trembling voice. Huang Ying laughed mockingly. Although I don't want to marry you, I don't want to be a scapegoat. Ling Shuang, listen carefully, I did not take a single copper from your Northern Continent Prefecture. I'm also afraid that the stench from your copper will contaminate my hands. Ha ha, Ling Shuang laughed at himself. Ying, how many times do you want to lie to me? I remember that you only told me that you went out alone to gain experience, but you didn't tell me that you were just a servant girl. He took a few steps back with a bitter taste in his mouth. If I had known that you were a maidservant, perhaps I wouldn't have fallen for you, and I wouldn't have been in such a difficult position. But why did you hide it from me? Ling Shuang had already been driven mad. He roared at Huang Ying. He already felt that everything was Huang Ying's fault. She had failed to live up to her infatuation. Huang Ying's body was trembling. She was obviously furious. Suddenly, a hand landed on her shoulder and pressed on her trembling shoulder, bringing some warmth to her ice-cold body. Yun Luofeng had a smile on his face as he glanced at Ling Shuang. I want to ask you a few questions. First, you keep saying that Huang Ying lied to you, but have you ever asked about her identity? Second, they accused Huang Ying of theft. Where's the evidence? Ling Shuang was shocked. He had indeed not asked about Huang Ying's identity. That was because he never expected that Huang Ying would be a maidservant. Feng Yin Xiao frowned slightly. The murderous intent in his cold voice intensified. Why waste time on these people? In other words, it was enough to get rid of them directly. Why waste time? Chapter 1579. At the city gates, a gale raged. A cold and austere aura filled the air, causing people to tremble. Ling Shuang's body froze as he stared at the man in black in fear. He did not know why, but this man gave him the feeling that he had come from hell. His entire body was filled with killing intent. Pucci. In the void, that gray-robed elder had yet to react when he saw Yun Zhao's cold eyes sweeping over. At the same time, it was as though an invisible sword had pierced through his body. With a boom, his body smashed down from the void. The entire street was silent. The crowd that had previously looked at Yun Xiao had already turned from their initial amazement to fear. In the end, they scattered like a flock of birds and quickly dispersed. They were afraid that if they continued to stay, they would become collateral damage. Soon, Apart from the people from the Continent Lord's mansion, only Yun Luo Feng and his group remained. A drop of cold sweat rolled down Ling Chen's forehead. His face was pale, and his lips trembled. What do you want? If you really kill someone from the northern continent, you'll become enemies with the 7 continents. Are you sure you want to do this? The 7 continents were bound together for good or bad. No matter how much internal strife there was, they were still like 4 legs of a tripod. If one of the continents was attacked, the other continents would also become enemies with them. This was Ling Chen's last bit of confidence. Yin Luo Feng's smile was lazy and evil. His evil eyes looked at Ling Chen's pale face. Will the northern continent let us go if we don't kill you? Ling Chen hurriedly nodded. That's right. If you let me go, we'll write off our grievances. Even if you have the eastern continent to back you up, don't forget that apart from the eastern continent, there are also the western continent, southern continent, central continent, and spirit continent. He paused, then continued. Do you think that by allying with the eastern continent, you'll be able to oppose the 5 continents? That's right, there's also the sorcerer clan. Seeing that Yin Luo Feng did not speak, Ling Chen's eyes flashed, and he continued to threaten. The sorcerer clan in the central continent is very powerful, and is comparable to the continent lord's mansion. As such, you'll be making enemies with 6 powerful forces. Sorcerer clan? Yin Luo Feng laughed evilly. I'm afraid you'll be disappointed in the end. Ling Chen's eyes widened. At this moment, there was a loud bang, and a black flame appeared under his feet, instantly covering his body. His heart-wrenching screams resounded throughout heaven and earth, causing one's hair to stand on end. Yun Xiao calmly retracted his hand. He just didn't like anyone threatening Yin Luo Feng. Huang Yingying. Yin Luo Feng looked up at Huang Yingying. This man, how do you want to deal with him? Huang Yingying's body trembled, and she lowered her head. After a moment of silence, she looked up at Yin Luo Feng. Miss, even though he trusted someone else, he didn't do anything to harm me. So, I won't do anything to him. But since he wanted to harm you, Miss, you should personally deal with him. Yingying. Ling Shuang's face paled. He didn't think that Huang Yingying would be so heartless that she didn't care about his life or death. Huang Yingying simply turned her head and didn't look at Ling Shuang anymore. She was afraid that if she looked at him again, she wouldn't be able to control herself. Yin Yi, cripple Ling Shuang. As for the rest, kill them. This time, the northern continent had suffered heavy losses. Countless powerful elders had been killed, and of the 2 youths from the northern continent, one was dead and the other was injured. To the northern continent's continent lord, this was a heavy blow. Perhaps they wouldn't be able to recover even after a few decades. Chapter 1580. Yin Xiao. Yun Luo Feng stretched lazily and rested his head on Yun Xiao's shoulder. The corners of his lips curled into an angle as he said, I'm tired. Then rest for a while. We'll reach the beast continent in a while. Yin Xiao lowered his eyes and looked at the young girl on his shoulder. He lifted his arms and lifted her up. With a swoosh, his figure quickly broke through the city gates and leapt into the sky. Their long hair fluttered in the wind. Their white dresses and black robes fluttered in the air. They were as beautiful as a painting. Huang Yingying blinked in surprise. Just as she was about to chase after Yin Luo Feng, she saw Yin Luo Feng lowering his eyes to look at the puppet below. Then, Yun Yi carried Huang Yingying and rushed towards Yin Luo Feng and the others at lightning speed. As a puppet, he naturally could not fly in the air. However, he did not know fatigue and ran at lightning speed on the ground. Huang Yingying, who was carried on his shoulder, nearly fainted as she saw stars. As one of the main cities of the Beast Continent, the Beast City was bustling with activity. There were birds and beasts galloping through the streets. Such a scene could not be seen in the other continents. At this moment, within the Beast City, the beasts who were walking in the city suddenly saw 2 men and 2 women walking into the city. They could not help but stop in their tracks. The 2 people walking in front were exceptionally outstanding. The man was handsome and cool, while the woman was devastatingly beautiful. Even the Fox clan, who were known for their beauty, could not compare to these 2. Quick, hurry and report to Her Highness. There are more humans coming. The beast city was different from the other continents. The main cities of the other continents were all in the central zone. Only this beast city was the first city one had to pass upon entering the beast continent. However, the beast continent did not have a continent lord's office. Instead, it was established by the various clans of the beast clan. For example, this beast city was occupied by the most barbaric of the legendary leopard clan. Her Highness the princess that they spoke of was the eldest daughter of the leopard king. It was said that the princess of the leopard clan was unreasonable and loved handsome men. Any man that caught her, I would not be able to escape her clutches, except a few days ago, a man that she had taken a liking to have been snatched away by her younger sister. As she could not harm her own clan, she could only swallow her resentment. Da-da-da. The sound of footsteps came from the front of the street. Yun Xiao, who was chatting with Yun Luofeng, unconsciously furrowed his sword-like eyebrows. He looked coldly at the army that was quickly approaching. In front of the army was an extremely beautiful woman with a wild nature. She held a javelin in her hand, and her chest was bare. Her domineering eyes swept over the handsome man in black robes, and a hint of greed flashed in her eyes. She had seen many humans, but this was the only one with such exquisite looks. Even the fox man who had been snatched away by his younger sister couldn't compare to this man. Hey, thinking of this, the beautiful woman raised her chin and said in a domineering manner, "From now on, you are mine. Apart from me, no other women are allowed to appear by your side. So, guards." Her voice paused, and she said coldly, "Kill all the women. As for the men, bring them all back. I don't like people who have polluted my man to still be alive in this world." Although Yun, he looked ordinary and his body was riddled with scars, this man looked burly and powerful. His skills in bed should be pretty good.